get started. Haven't planned who would give the prayer or thought or anything, pledge. So we'll just go off the cuff. And then Sandy, I think you said you don't. Just on what you're praying type person.
Well, whoever just pick somebody.
Okay. I brought some thoughts, which I think are interesting, maybe a little bit funny. Hey, there he is. Espinosa, right?
There it is.
All right. Memory is improving with age.
Wow.
Just kidding. I just say that to make people laugh because they know it's not true. Okay, how about Chris, would you mind giving us a prayer? And
Sure.
I would like to give some thoughts in addition to that, and then we'll do the pledge. One of you ladies like to do the pledge?
Sure, I will.
Okay.
Okay. Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful day and all you provide for us. Please, we ask you to look after us here as we make decisions and to understand what decisions should be great. So we can all get along. I say these things in Jesus Christ's name.
Okay.
Hello.
Long time
I had to
see
take
you.
my wife to Salt Lake to a doctor's appointment.
Oh,
Just ran her home and came right back over.
is she doing okay?
She's doing okay. She got a little benign tumor in her ear.
Oh,
It causes her a balance problem, and so they had a specialist. We had to go to the 2 hours and 10 minutes behind our schedule. We waited in the waiting room.
So you're lucky to be here at all.
Yes, thought we had plenty of time, but
Unfortunately, we saved you a seat.
there's Ben.
morning, man. Good afternoon.
Okay, I would like to share some thoughts, which these are copies of cards that my grandma Stuckey, that's my mom's mom. Grandma and Grandpa Stuckey had stuck on their fridge. They had a whole stack of them, and they were just little bits of gems of wisdom. And just pick a card, any card. Okay, there you go. I'll read these six. They're cool. The only people who never fail are those who never try. Sympathy is never wasted except when you give it to yourself. Every day should be passed as if it were to be our last. Don't use up too much of yesterday, today. Live only for today and you ruin tomorrow. Leisure is an empty cup. Enjoying it depends on what we put into it.
Gems of wisdom.
Yeah, a little, probably 100-year-old. Cool. So I made a copy of all these little cards.
Cool.
Okay.
Everybody want to stand for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda, I think, is simple. That is to review the cost-saving ideas and what Chris compiled. Thank you
Thank you.
very much, and then some for putting it in some kind of presentable format. I don't know if other people have ideas that they brought. I redlined.
Yeah.
I used just a regular pencil because it's a lot easier to.
I'm disappointed.
They wanted to see the blood everywhere.
The principal is the
That's a true
same.
Murder board.
I
I had to take a second look at Chris because I haven't seen him without his mask.
Yeah, mine's is so much,
Did you wonder who had joined us?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Can I just, before we start, can we set a time? Like when we'd like to finish by this time so that we don't go on forever on every topic.
If you make it too short, then I have to go home and fix dinner.
Well, we can make it whatever, but it's just if
We're
we,
making it about you.
see, last week we were forced to get out because planning was coming in and we really weren't done. But we spend a lot of time on certain things, and if we have a time frame, I feel like
Move faster, maybe?
we'll just say yes or
Give
no.
us a
and,
goal.
I don't know, what's,
5 o'clock.
Oh, good. I was
That's a
gonna say
good
that
time.
too, but I didn't want it to be too long.
Yeah, I mean, if we're not done by 5, then we're something wrong, but.
okay.
So be it. Okay. I don't want to hog the whole show.
I think if people have something to say, we'll say it.
Right. How about we go around the room? I'll be last. I could just simply give this to you, or let you take the copy. I tried to make my comments self-explanatory. Have a bunch. But,
Yeah.
How about we just? start with you?
Okay, so before that, I'd like to update on, so last week there were a few things I said I would go check and get answers to. The flowers, one of the questions was that just taken out of the budget for this year and next year, or what's the deal with it? And that's, the flowers on Washington are out of the budget until or if someone brings it up and requests it again. So it's not like it was taken out for 3 years just to test. It's out. So
At the
that's,
moment, it's indefinite.
yeah, there's no plan out there to bring them back. Not that it's a definite, it can't ever happen, but
But they
yeah.
have some really pretty artificial ones.
Do we really
Oh,
want to go
man,
there?
did you
Do we
Okay,
really?
now we heard 2 minutes ago that we weren't gonna just talk about things endlessly.
So that's,
Thank you for
your
support.
that's not even up for discussion, no. The street sweeper, so that is a state requirement that the streets get swept. It has to be done professionally because it has to be in a certain way so as not to pollute the stormwater. And if it's not done properly, the city will be fined by, John, is it the state or the EPA?
It's the State Division of Environmental Quality.
Environmental quality. So it has to be professionally done.
So cross that one off, is what you're saying?
Yep.
And in a large part, that's because they require specific verification. And we couldn't verify that every resident had cleaned it in a way that the state would say, yes, you've met the burden of proof.
And then you gotta get it out to every single resident. This is what you have to do.
And you have to know what date they did it, and everyone's gonna pick a different date.
Yeah.
And that's even, or they're just gonna say, yeah, I did it last Thursday.
And hope for a good windstorm. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's that, and then, the magazine cost. You talked to Ryan, so I asked Ryan last week to get back to us, and Brenda spoke with him for me last night, and
They said the reason that this Cherry Days Committee is doing their own printed Cherry Days things, because in the past, it's been added into the North Ogden Connection, when they just add it in the middle, and I think it has to be turned in like the 1st of May, and they get the vendors and the sponsors, but they never get the money that the vendors have promised to donate. So these guys are going to do it. They are requesting all of the money in by May 24th. And those who pay will get their advertisement in the magazine. That's why they decided to do it that way this year.
Separately.
How much of the budget of the magazine is covered by advertising versus what the city's working out for it?
And the city pays 10,000 as far as the rest,
10,000 a
maybe John
year,
would know.
10,000
10,000 a
a
year.
year, okay. And then what happens, so the advertising money that we get in, Where does that go?
That just goes to the magazine,
Just back to the magazine?
unless it's the Cherry Days. Cherry Days specifically goes to the Cherry Days.
Okay.
But everything else that I understand on the magazine, just the magazine.
And do we know how much we're bringing in advertising wise, averaging?
It's not we, it's them.
Yeah, we're not bringing in anything.
Yeah, and I
Right.
don't think we would,
Yeah.
I don't think we would know, because I'm sure they're like, not your business.
Well, because I think,
Because
because we pay for the content that we put in. So if they
Yeah,
give
we
us
get
so many
8
pages, that's
pages.
what we're paying.
Oh, so it is. they're
Like
their
an
own
advertiser, yeah.
Independent, okay.
We don't subsidize, we pay to put stuff in there. And I think that's the one thing,
Interesting.
yeah, and for the Cherry Days things, I don't know if you saw that, I kind of dug around in some old minutes and found that it was pretty close for every individual. So I'm like, wow. So the price for what they were talking about wasn't too far off.
Yeah,
So,
Well, yes and no, because we're getting a whole year plus the Cherry Days for 10,000.
no, this, what I saw in some minutes was just the Cherry Days things separately,
when North Ogden sent them out separate,
separate.
yeah,
So it was it $5,000? Anyway,
yeah.
so when that was 2007, can't remember what the heck it was. Anyway, it was old.
I think the city gets good value out of that magazine. That's a good
Yeah.
communication device for us.
But I think the one thing that Doug was shooting for was, can we reduce it or go online? Does that reduce the city's input? And I think that was the thing that, I don't know if we answered.
I personally don't like the magazine. I think it's very difficult to find the city information mixed in with
Yeah,
all of the ads. So
I threw it away up until a couple months ago,
Same.
seriously, because I was just like, well, I kind of flipped through it and whatever.
it's like at Hometown Values
Yeah.
That
It's-
is immediately.
It looks the
garbage.
It's
same
just-
almost.
ads.
Yeah,
Supposedly, the city gets 8 pages.
Should we count?
I don't think so, still have it. Oh, yeah, I,
Let's not spend too much time.
well,
on
the
it.
value of it, this is, I think,
Questionable.
towards budget. The value of it, I
Yeah.
think is too much.
yeah.
I
and
just don't see the point.
So right now we have the wording in it. It
Okay.
says, Connections Magazine dash city budget is $10,000, reduced to quarterly or go online if there is a cost reduction. That's what we have in there. So I
That's the
don't know.
basics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that sticks.
I have
Don't you?
trouble with going totally online too, because they are, well, I told you about concerns last time.
Yeah.
There's a individual that,
Yeah.
how much of the cost of the printing and all of that, why is it going? Yeah, I understand the mailing, but they're still printing devices and magazines if they need to. Are we paying for that? Those are
Does
my
it,
concerns.
And how much,
does that wording,
Is that wording good enough the way it is? Whether we decide to do that or not, maybe it's not something we're gonna settle here, but at least it's a suggestion of reducing the cost.
It probably has to be of a certain size to make economic sense for the publishers to do it. So that, or, well, that's my guess, yeah.
anyways, that was,
Any reason to change the wording as it is right now?
Read it out loud, Sandy.
Good.
Connections Magazine dash current city budget 10K dash reduce to quarterly or go online if there is cost reduction.
I usually think if it goes online, nobody's gonna see it.
Yeah,
And you still have a lot of older people who do not do computers.
So maybe take out the part about go online and just leave it.
Well-
Change from monthly to quarterly.
yeah.
but okay, if it's reduced to quarterly, does that reduce the intent of sending it out? Is there stuff in there the city counts on
Oh,
notifying citizens
Well,
of
it has a-
monthly?
It has a monthly calendar and everything in there of events. I mean, it does, does have value.
I think something that was part of my suggestion that didn't get in there, it's not, no criticism. I think you did a great
I
job. but-
blitzed, so.
But is that things that are more timely, like things that need to be communicated monthly, could be put in the utility bill. That
I don't
could
get a
be-
utility bill mailed to me. I pay online, so I don't.
so you
But it's
wanna do
online
that.
though.
Mhm. I
So
don't
the
get,
little,
I don't get a bill, I don't get
You
anything.
could look it up, I guess is what you're saying. Is
I
that
thought
right?
they said that, because I said, well, I get mine in the mail. She's like, well, it's on that express thingy or whatever. Did you get an email and you click on the button and then that
Hmm.
statement and whatever goes with it pops up.
But you might be less likely to read that than.
I'm not, maybe I'll find this, if it pays automatically, I don't even look at it.
Until it triples.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Then you look what the-
yeah, I did notice it went up $1, but
Okay, so add that little bit or leave it out.
Or take the whole thing out.
I think take the whole thing out, because we don't really have a good suggestion. And, or not one that we all agree with, so.
I don't know. What do you want to do? Just, I mean, go around there like this on that.
Yeah,
So Brenda, let's take it out.
I'm thinking it's 10,000. If we're reducing it, how much are we gonna save? We're,
We could ask them. But it would be a finite, fairly easy to execute reduction, assuming there is a reduction. It isn't something that we have to plan a lot, just,
But the reason that they went with the magazine was because the magazine cost either the same or a little less than when the city was doing it by itself. So if we go back to the city doing it, we're not gonna be saving any money that way either.
but the suggestion is not to have the city go back. It's
Just
simply,
not have the magazine at all.
Is to change the frequency from 4
Quarterly.
times a year to 4 times. That's a
Wow.
simple suggestion.
I get that.
Okay, so you're saying no, vote it down.
I'd say don't put it in
Don't put it in
the
the
suggestions.
suggestions.
That's fine.
yeah, I thought we had agreed last week that what goes on here, we wanted to have a dollar figure next to it, what it could save. So who's gonna get that dollar figure?
I guess I could.
Well, in this,
I could ask the
I
manager.
think what you're looking for is that there is a figure in the budget that could be reduced, whether or not we know or how to reduce it. It's something that probably needs to be followed on, but, you know, if that's even something the council, because it gets presented to the council, kind of like, nope, then you just kick it off, you know, I mean, if the majority of us say, you know, it's a suggestion, it's a sound one, you know, I mean, toss and trash. I mean, there might be a few things I look at, but that's the problem is there's not one spot, like you were saying, of where to look for stuff, and if you don't know what to look online. I don't know.
I've listened to so many citizens say that we don't communicate well enough with them. I hate to see us take away the one organ that we have
Don't even know.
to do that with. Yeah.
I don't-
Okay, so let's not spend the whole like 15 minutes talking about one little thing. Let's just take a quick vote. I hear Brenda say no,
Take it off the
take it
budget.
off.
Take it
Sandy
off.
says no, I say leave it on.
I say, take it off that list, yeah.
Take it off.
I guess we don't need to ask. The majority is already.
Yeah, take it off.
But tell me your opinion anyway. Leave it or take it.
I guess I'm just caught up in what's the real savings, you know, what's the cost benefit?
I don't know, but common sense tells me if you go
There's gotta
from
be
12
something
to
less.
4, there's gonna be some. savings.
Yes.
I don't know what that
Probably
is,
is-
but it's something, and it's very concrete, simple.
There probably is savings, but like I said last week, I get mine anywhere from a week to 2 weeks late. Half of the stuff is already passed. So if we only do it a quarter, then I don't think we get the information at all.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I've gone to reading it online because I don't get it in the mail like I should.
Okay, so I think that obviously the vote is to take it off of the list. Let's move to the next one.
Go back to the top, the flock cameras, 30K,
Is that, did you have anything else?
yeah.
Sandy?
Oh, sorry. we're
Yeah, we
going around
started-
the-
The only other thing I had was the agendas, printing the agendas. And I think, John, did you tell me that that was possible? You didn't think it was legally required that we have agendas available for people to take?
I don't, we just have to physically post the agenda on the city hall message board out here.
So that would be a possible,
For city council meeting.
yeah.
And we're all in other meetings as well.
But who's gonna sit and figure out how much that would save?
Well, I'm curious, how many do you have left over at the end of the meeting? I mean, last night there was 5 people here, so you had some left over. But, you know, if people are using them,
20 cents, but yeah, I plus another 50 cents for color, but yeah, you know, and you multiply that by how many minutes a year, you're probably talking, if you say $100, you probably over, but
So we pay with our, because we print them out through a machine that we lease through Les Olson. I think we pay 6.5 cents a color copy.
How many do you make each time?
It's probably in that 20 to 30 range. I'll have to ask the recorder.
This-
oh, not even that much, I don't
bucks,
think, even, yeah, just reduce it down to 10.
Well,
It's not-
okay, so I mean, you know, for example, if I come in, even if I have the paper, you know, we've got it up on the whiteboard. There's- Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, as we're going, anyway, if I don't look at it online, I can go on my phone real quick. Okay, this is what the schedule is. I think the paper is just being wasted, but it's, again, 6 cents for 20 of them.
Yeah, I
At
think
6.5 cents
that's $2 or so.
times 30 per meeting, 26 meetings a year, is $50.70.
And then you got your planning commission, so you're looking at $100.
And I'm gonna point out, there are a lot of older people that come to the city council meetings. And a lot of older people are not gonna get on their phone and look up and, because I'll be honest with you, when I first started coming, I had problems finding the agenda on things, so they're not gonna do it.
Yeah, I look at the agenda before I come, but then I forget to print it off, so I appreciate having one here.
Yeah.
It's worth the
I
$2.
think this,
we can put it on
Did
there
you say
and
I
just
was
say,
talking about
but
you?
$100 is
Oh, I
not.
said I just-
Just don't take it out.
I would take, I would,
Okay.
yeah, I would maintain it.
Let's take a quick vote here.
I would do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
For
quick
those
vote. Keep the item or take it off. Brenda, we'll start with you.
Take it off.
Take-
Take it off.
Take, keep,
Take it off.
take.
Off.
Off. Okay, so
Or excuse me, yeah, I thought we were meaning taking off of our suggestions.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
take
what
off
we're
of our
voting on.
suggestions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Clark?
Take it off.
I want to keep it, but yeah, I mean,
Okay,
$100.
votes, 1, 2,
Okay, that's the
3, 6.
things
Okay,
I
take
was,
that off.
that's kind of my list. Can I make a suggestion? I don't have a list, but where he's got this list, why not just start at the top of his list and go down?
It was either way. We just had suggestions and if somebody had.
She had follow-up stuff.
Yes, right.
But I'll just pass them. I have one concern about the flock cameras. I'm not overly thrilled with those. But my interest would be rather in a 23rd officer, which is gonna cost us more than the flock cameras, but I'm not thrilled with those. And then honestly, my going through this budget with all the department heads, I think they are excellent. They have answered for everything they're asking for.
It's incredibly.
I
informative.
have, yes, there, I have no problem with anything that they've said. After going through all of this, my personal issue, sorry, Phil, is with the city council. They paid for Chalk It Up this year, which they said they would not after last year. They increased the money for charity days. Why do I want some? That's the subdivision next to me. They've increased the money for charity days, which they gave them a budget but did not hold them to. We were told that $75,000 would be donated from the community for the amphitheater, but then the city council okayed that to come up with that money. That's my main issue at this point, after meeting with all of them, is more the city council at this point than the department heads.
And those are bigger dollar values than what you're talking about.
Well, and a concern is that last night they talked about losing $150,000 possibly on sales tax.
We've already taken that out of the budget.
But with what they've increased over what they allowed for budget is $100,000. So that's my concern. I'm done.
You're saying we're not getting that much revenue on sales tax.
Right. Sales
What's
tax
the
has gone
change?
down a lot. I asked Bill, I don't know.
Just
Nobody
spending?
knows.
We've no,
It's just
yeah, spending, consumer spending is down. And projected to be. So do we, inflation and everybody's running out of the stimulus money, you know? $4 trillion worth of money that everybody was handed down. That drove inflation up and drove spending up, which drove sales tax up. But now that's been spent out. You have home sales that are down because of the interest rates, car sales that are down, and then all the ancillary, O'Reilly's, AutoZone, the home store, all of those kinds of things, people buying things for their homes. We'll see what this next month's sales tax report says. But based on the formularies that we use, we've reduced our projected sales tax next year by $150,000.
So do we have any data on what happened in 2008 here? Jobs, okay, because I would like to find out if we have some kind of contingency plan or triage system set up to where, okay, it's really hit the fan now. Our tax revenue has really tanked. What is it that we can start cutting to maintain our water or sewage, the very necessities, because that's where it's going. And if you look at the 2008 crash, it was big banks going in. Now we've got both regional and big banks going in. The assets that they have sucked in versus right around 2000, the banking system or the Fed has sucked in versus in 2008 versus now is double. So we are looking at a massive crash coming up here. And not only that, we're hitting the debt ceiling here in a couple weeks, 3 weeks. And if Congress says, you know what, we're not going to fund it, stock market is very likely to hit rock bottom. So we've got, I really think if we don't have some kind of plan set up, we need to, I highly encourage. So, and then not only that, but also if inflation keeps just going through the roof, how do we incentivize our city employees if what they're getting paid isn't making ends meet? So, okay, I think I just.
Those are
Well,
It really is a dire situation.
Then that was something.
I'm sorry,
Scenario you proposed in an email to us, I recall.
I'm sorry, I interjected here at a line, at a turn, but, okay, sorry.
Don't take
Get off my soapbox now.
Be sorry.
Okay.
so let me tell you what information we have about 2008 city side.
Yeah,
So we lost about 20% of our sales tax that year. So at that point in time, it was about $400,000. At this current, where we're projected, that would be closer to $800,000. The city does have a general fund reserve of close to 2 million, just a little over 2 million. So that's kind of we know we could keep the lights on for a year, 2 years, 2.5 years. But to the hyperinflation that's assumed, if that was to happen, the nice thing is water, sewer, those sort of things have their own dedicated source with very healthy funds. It's your police and folks like that are more at risk. But in that scenario, I would probably imagine the council would have that discussion and say, okay, what do we not have to have? And that's where you're going to lose recreation and things like that.
okay, so tax revenue aside, how about foreclosures on homes, property tax monies coming in? Do we have any data on that? How it?
So it lengthens it. So our accounts receivable balance for taxes went up, but property taxes are paid when foreclosures occur.
Okay.
So when it's sold, that's the first thing that gets paid off is the tax bill. So the money comes in, it's delayed 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
You also have to remember how the state has set up property taxes to occur. Okay. So let's say we have 10 homes that produce $100 in property taxes. Housing values go up, they double, right? Property taxes don't double. The state reduces the property tax rate so that those 10 homes still produce $100 in property tax. Let's say your home drops in half. Okay. The state will increase your property tax rate so that those 10 homes continue to produce $100 in revenue. So property taxes it's an interesting paradox, right?
Yeah.
Because while the state doesn't increase the amount of taxes that those 10 homes produce, you still have inflationary costs, right? The cost to provide the same services to those 10 homes over a number of years goes up. When we did our truth in taxation last year, I jumped on the Weber GeoGizmo, right, where you pull up tax records and all that for any home, right? It's all public information. And when I looked at his 1998 taxes and then compared them to 2022, the new taxes, and then adjusted for inflation, because 1998 dollars could buy more than 2022 dollars, right?
Significantly, yeah.
He actually had a $700 tax reduction, right?
Okay.
If we had taken what he paid in 1998, adjust that for inflation,
Okay.
it was about $1,700 in today's money.
Okay.
And his new tax bill was about $1,100. And so it's like, and that's the reality that we face as the city,
Okay.
is that the state, in the way it calculates taxes, doesn't account for the natural rise in cost of providing those services. So we have to look at providing the same services on the same tax revenue year after year after year, or go through a truth in taxation and actually increase the tax rate over what the state would assign to us.
Yeah. Okay.
Isn't that what you did? Isn't that part of what you did last year?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's happened is over the last 30, 40 years, there's been no increase by the council to account for that annual increase, right? That's just naturally there. There are some communities in North Ogden, in Weber County, South Ogden is one in particular. They do a 2 to 3% property tax increase every year. And they have for decades. And everybody knows that every year your property taxes are going to go up 2, 3%, you know, to cover for that inflationary time. When the inflation's 7, 8, 9% like it has been, you're still only going up 2% because there's a cushion that's been built in the years. And so they don't have that same issue that we do. Last year was very much a catch up between the depreciation, right, that was being done incorrectly, and catching up on that, and catching up for multiple decades of not adjusting the property taxes. When I did the presentation 2 years ago, when we had like a 6 or 7% tax increase, the property taxes that we gathered in 2000 was like $1.1 million. Adjusted for inflation was over $2 million. And that year we were looking to bring in like $1.3 million in property taxes. So we were $700,000 plus in purchasing power less than the taxes that we gathered in 2000. And that's part of the issue that has gone on for years and years and years. And, you know, it's a hard pill to swallow to start a program where council looks at, do we do a small increase every year, incremental increase every year to account for the natural inflation that happens?
I've always felt that we should, because it's such a shock to the community to have a 24%, you know, this catch up kind of a thing, you know?
It absolutely is. Part of the issue that, you know, I don't know how many of you have heard of the legislative cycle, right? The legislative cycle is city council is doing something that the residents, we don't like that. Building too many homes, raising our property taxes, even if it's 2%. And then you have the next election where you have people who say, well, I won't do that, or I'll stop that. They get elected, and then they get in office and realize, well, we can't legally stop that. And we have to do that in order to survive. And now they're the ones that the people hate. And you have another election cycle, and you have another group of people that run and say, we'll stop that, we won't do that. And then they realize, well, we can't stop it and we have to do it. And it's this circle that just keeps going and going and going. It's, there isn't an easy answer. at some point, my belief, I'm with you, Randy. At some point, I believe that North Ogden City needs to get into that annual increase to cover inflationary costs. Or
Even if it's only 2 to 4%, do you have to do a truth in lending, or is there a
if
percent?
it's 0.5%,
You do, huh?
if it's 0.1%.
So you'd have to have one every year. Yeah.
You'd have to do a truth in taxation every year.
That's a super complicated formula, by the way, and they didn't get it right.
They don't.
Because I looked at my own taxes and there's no way I should have the increase I did. And I talked to them and they said, oh, well, it's because the commercial property went down. And so your taxes went up, but the commercial properties went down. And then I started looking at commercial properties and like 9 out of 10 of them went up too.
Well,
So then I don't think there's anybody auditing that.
there is.
Well,
State audits
they
it,
need
but
to get on it, man, because it's.
let me just share with all of you a little secret that I learned this last year, because when I opened my tax bill last spring, I went, oh, wow, that's a huge, the market value increase. And so I got a hold of a realtor friend and I said, is my house really worth this much? He said, no, it isn't. And so I paid him a little money. He got me 10 comps. I went online to the county assessor's office, filled out the little form, sent him my PDF with all my comps, challenged my housing appraisal, told him what I thought it was worth based on the comps. I got my house value reduced $180,000,
Which changed your taxes.
which dropped my taxes almost $700.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to the folks I know at the county, in the county assessor's office and the clerk's office. The vast majority of challenges to home valuations are accepted and your home valuation is dropped. So if you're not challenging it, you're leaving money on the table.
How much did you spend to get those comps? Because when I looked into it, I was looking at about $200 to $300 to
This
get the
was a good
reassessment.
friend, so I.
Right, yeah. so-
20 bucks.
What's the street value though? The Regular market value.
Yeah.
comp thing.
It depends. It depends on, and it's the kind of thing where you can go on Zillow and pull up recent sales. Right. And it'll list what the recent sale, print it off yourself. Just go on there and pull up 10 recent sales in your neighborhood.
Will they take even that?
Absolutely.
I had to do it a few years ago, and I had 2 pieces of property that were quite comparable, and they were all out of balance, like you're talking about. So I just made my own comps. I just pulled the Zillow things and sent it in, and they accepted and brought the other one down. Good more.
So anyway, the property tax thing, you figure property taxes covers 53% of our police department.
So by doing that comp adjustment, you're cutting the police budget.
I'm cutting the police budget, I'm cutting the snowplow budget, I'm cutting every budget that I possibly can.
Hey, folks, I'm noticing our time is,
Slip sliding away.
Yeah.
It's all filthy.
so.
Sorry.
If we can go
You
back
got
to
me
Brenda.
monologuing.
Brenda, thank you then. If we can go back to Brenda.
That's what you do with a bill.
I
right?
challenged
mine. I only went to cut it down to $60. Show up. Well,
Is there a way, the observations that you made, is there a way you could transform them into a cost reducing suggestion or two?
I'm gonna leave that up to Chris because he's doing the,
How did I get that wrong?
He's just
you
like the
volunteered to do
secretary,
the PowerPoint.
Sure, I can make up whatever I want.
Okay.
Got it.
but if you can put some dollar value in terms of what kind of cost savings we might realize. in connection with-
Estimated.
In connection with your observation,
Well,
that would help.
I
Chris,
add up the
no.
ones I mentioned, it's $111,000 in the last 2 months that the city council has increased over what they said the budget was.
You heard the word, Chris, let's put that in there. Based
Okay, so
on some words.
but what's the recommendation?
Yeah, it's,
Remember,
Because
Stop spending money.
remember the money for cherry days has to be paid back.
hopefully.
No, time out. If they
Hopefully.
don't pay it back,
Look what
there's
you
no
did.
consequence. The mayor, last week, the mayor did stand here and,
Right.
I mean, they are expected to pay it back and they're supposed to be diligently pursuing contributions. But the bottom line is, if they don't pay it back,
If the city eats it, right? We eat it. Or if they fall short, maybe they pay half of it back or something.
I have confidence.
I don't
yeah,
think
but it's not even having confidence in them, Phil. It's having confidence in a city who a lot of citizens are not happy that the date got moved, that the parade. And because a lot of people are saying, and it's, I know it's not always, I know years ago Cherry Days wasn't the 4th, but the general consensus here lately has been, we've always celebrated on the 4th, and my family came to visit that day. And now they're not going to come back the next weekend. And so it's not having faith in the committee, it's having faith in the public accepting all the and supporting all the changes. I don't think the committee addressed that. And then I'm not saying what they're doing is bad. It's just a giant leap in 1 year. And it's like, whoa, can't we gradually build this up a little?
And we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
we
see what
will,
this year
yeah.
Okay,
But what Brenda's saying is that was a risky move with what a lot of us think is our money. So that's,
Was it this year?
This year, we had half of it, and then the city council put it back in the budget to pay for all. We already has $30.
I thought that was next year. Wasn't
Well,
that drone
yeah.
thing?
Well, the budget that we're talking about forward, but he's already got more than half of it.
I'm trying to coalesce, because right now I have city council to stick to budget and not increase during the year unless urgent need, i.e. Cherry Days, Chalk It Up, Amphitheater, Police, I don't know, something like that. You said 100.
111,000.
potential
Because-
savings, right?
Estimated savings.
I'm just trying to
Yep, little
articulate
squiggly.
what I think.
Tilde.
Okay,
I like those squeak.
Brenda, thank you for your input here, your suggestions. Quantified, if I can put it that way. Chris,
Wait.
your turn.
Okay, well, first off, I guess the other 2 pages that we kind of not skipped over, but just kind of summary, quick and dirty. Any issues with those?
The front 2 pages.
Yeah,
I have
I
a,
know you have, but is anybody else? If not, I'll just stick with Mr. Anderson's.
mine are not big, they're not hopefully controversial.
Yeah, I've already made some notes myself, so. We look through something, we do a name on now.
Okay, I would
Whoever's
suggest,
briefing this too, I guess they should probably know what they're reading too. And you wanted notes, which I started to do with them.
Oh, no,
Because on
that's,
each
I just
slide,
don't
you
want
can
it all
add
right.
notes.
that's me, yeah.
I don't know, people. that read.
no, I didn't want notes because I didn't want to read it all. I just wanted the bullet point.
Yeah.
And then whoever was talking would talk about it.
Okay, but was it okay the way I did it where we said cost savings, then future actions, and then is it continued? But to me, that was the only way to
where,
coalesce some of the
No,
other
this
stuff that
one-
went.
where are you seeing,
That might be
Page
on the 2 pages that I did.
So there's only one page with the, I'll say with the money on it that we're talking about, but then there's the pocketbook and the tree.
Yeah, I didn't.
Water.
I mean, pages 5, 6,
No,
and
that-
7,
Yeah,
they're
I got
numbered.
numbers. I got a number.
That's okay. I have a small suggestion
That's
about number,
easier.
page number 2.
Yeah, you got it.
Change the word review of city budget, change that to reviewed city budget process.
What are we on?
Simple, page 2. of the whole
Am I
presentation.
not?
Reviewed of,
It's the one that has the flag on it.
yeah.
Okay, I
You
got it.
you want to treat what?
I would just say reviewed city budget process and data, as opposed to review of. That's slightly more accurate. Same deal
Well-
on page 3. It's not a big deal, Chris. I just felt that that states what we did. We reviewed it. And then the same thing on the top line, the header of page 3. And then the very last line was noted and vetted. That's the page with the stacks of coins on it. Page 2. I would change the word vetted to explained.
The first 2 pages, but
Page 4.
Would you like to look at them?
no, I would look at them. But at some point, whether it be the beginning or the end of this presentation, I think the department heads, John, Jamie, and Phil should be thanked
Yes.
immensely for
Yes.
the time that they put in. Because we asked all the department heads, and most on stage for a couple hour meeting. We asked them all to come and present this, of which they did not need to.
Yeah.
And John's been here, Dave,
Not quite waterboarding.
I'm sorry.
Are you sure about that?
I've been more.
Not quite.
So, it just was an extra, an extra thing in their job this year that they didn't have to do, but they were very gracious about it.
And I think we asked
A lot.
way more questions than the count. I mean, we just like, not criticizing anybody, but a lot of that stuff, we nitpicked down to the nickel and dime.
Because we didn't understand. that,
Yeah,
so
and
we were-
they-
yeah.
They were courteous and I didn't see anybody go,
Not-
which I'm telling you, I would have
Not
done.
even Dave.
I do it just sitting here in city council meetings, so you can imagine if I was in the hot seat. I'd
Well, I
be
won't
thinking,
vote for you for city
Really,
council.
I'm not running.
Okay,
Yeah.
So
Folks,
I'm
let's get
just
the-
gonna, I'm
let's
gonna
get the
add
train
a little
back on
note that bullet and just say many thanks
Yes,
to
yeah, okay,
all those involved.
yeah.
page 4, top line, that's the picture of the little calculator on the right hand side. I would say city budgeting is hard to predict. I would insert the word stupid. And then I would take off the sentence that says grant money is never certain.
Oh, how come?
We have to leave that open.
Yeah, you can't shut it
Yeah,
down.
it says, please do not
That has
touch.
to stay open because it's a public meeting.
Can't be closed door.
Okay,
So, but grant money is never certain.
And I don't think the majority of the citizens understand
Yeah.
how much we depend on.
That's what some of this crap I put in there because I didn't know. All of these sentences I put in here, I didn't know.
That's another hats off to the city, really, because John
Because they're
chases a
doing that.
lot of money.
Yeah.
He gets in money that we probably shouldn't even
People
have.
don't come in here and say, hey, who wants, they gotta go looking.
That takes
for
a lot of
times.
groundwork to get
Okay.
that stuff.
peace, sisters and brothers, leave it in, move on. I'm just watching the clock. We've got a lot to go over. Everything else, under city employees, this is still on page 4. Actively work to reduce costs. Several employee initiatives have reduced costs. I would say, give an example. And one example that popped into my mind was
Okay.
this, just a minute, let me finish my sentence.
Yeah.
The street legal larger lawnmower. I think that was a city employee suggestion I heard, and I think it's a Shazam type of deal. Thank you.
This is where my complaint comes in with PowerPoint. I think to have it on the PowerPoint and then whoever is directing the PowerPoint says that.
So
Oh,
don't put it
put
in.
in the notes view.
No.
Yeah, okay, and I have one more thing. If you have been to the city council meetings lately, you need to keep it short and sweet if you want their attention. You
Last
can't,
night's presentation was excellent. The one on the
Ricky.
Sam
Yes.
thing was horrendous.
yes,
Which
so, I
one?
mean, we can't go on and on, or they're gonna just pick up their phone and start flipping through it. Am I right, Phil?
You are,
Okay,
Last night was 10 minutes, I think he said, so, yeah.
And he was thorough.
yeah, it was actually about 18 and a half.
Oh, did it go ahead? Oh, yeah. He said 10 minutes.
So not that I was timing, so I could
Yeah.
text him and tell him, just 10 minutes turned into.
So I'll stick that in notes and whoever's briefing that.
I'm gonna, if I may, I'm
Yeah,
gonna jump
keep
on my third to last
Yeah.
suggestion, that is keep all PowerPoint bullets to 1/2 to 3/4 of a line long.
Yes.
If at all possible. That's a
Usually,
good point.
if you have one major bullet, you have to have 2 sub bullets because if you don't, then there's no reason. to keep going.
Anyway, short, sweet, and to the point. Okay, very good. Those are all my suggestions regarding the first 4 pages. Those were the easy quick ones. I'm so tempted to just give you a copy of this. I got a bunch of stuff. No.
Well, do, I would like to hear it.
You had your turn, you had your turn. Chris, did you have?
I, before those 2 pages, I blitzed what she had. So, and that's why I divided, because these were ones that we could quantify. The rest were things that I saw were cool, that might want, return, review the bank thing, because that would, if we can go from all these fees at one bank to everything that's free at another one, I know what Jamie was saying, you have to have a positive thing on a check, whatever that was. There's only so
And it has
much
to
you
be a
can
bank, it can't be a credit union, and there's only 2 banks in the
Right,
city.
so I just review the fees. I mean, there's a lot of little things that we can't control, but would be a cost saving that would assume that they're doing. This is more of a, but things that they will be doing, but wanted to get on paper, and so. Making sure the flash vote is used, but I stuck in the free energy reviews at the end, that's, we don't know what that is, but if they do it and find, holy cow, we can save $50,000 net because we can change all the lights to LED, whatever. But anyway, sorry, that was the last one.
Okay.
Keep going. Yell it, please.
No,
I'm trying to
yeah, no,
find
I
what
don't-
page they're on.
I'm
Going to
just
find it all
thinking-
over.
Last one. I know, I am all over.
But this is also a lot of recommendations with no dollar sign
Right,
attached.
but there is no dollar signs because we can't. There's nothing to do with that.
Or we
But
don't
this,
know.
so this isn't a budget item.
The first
then.
one is, yes, because those are the only ones that we can quantify.
Right,
The
first
rest
page.
Yeah, so, and that was our task, was to review the budget.
Mhm.
So these are not responses to review the budget. And is that,
Yes.
Some of them, well, I agree a little bit with Chris, some of them I think. They don't
Okay.
have a quantitative amount, but
Yes. And that just a little bit, Sandy, please.
sure,
In a honest and supportive manner. The fact that we may not know what the dollar amount is today, I think should not just categorically mean we're not going to put on the list just because we don't know that it's going to be X dollars. Maybe we put it in a different category of saying, these are things which we believe will have some cost savings, and we haven't had or taken the time to find out how much, or it will be difficult to predict. But don't just throw the idea out because you can't put a specific quantity of dollars on it.
Some of them are maximized because there's nothing that we can say that the interest rates are gonna go up or down, but what they're doing to maximize any not freedom of cash, but cash that can be put in bonds and get $30,000 in 5 months, good heavens, yes, go do that, continue to do that, whatever you can, because I can't predict it's gonna be $30,000, it might be $2,000, but still, that's more than sitting in a bank account, those type of things that I can't predict at all, or continue to make sure that you incentivize employees to stay. Very good idea, so, that's not something I can pinpoint unless you want to say whatever the HR budget is sticking on there.
yeah.
Little things like that that I think are good ideas, police department growth should be balanced both by national average and response time. And what you were saying, and what the council says, or the mayor says all the time
Okay.
about 2 minutes.
So then just like these up here,
The first ones, those are the only ones that I had an idea that we
Yeah.
probably could get a impact statement. on
Okay,
there, like-
but so then the other ones weren't on the list we made here last week, so I think we need to discuss them because
Oh, yeah.
like the hiring extra code enforcement officers.
I don't know where that came from, but that's in there somewhere.
Well, no, but I know there was somebody here last week who didn't agree with it. And we agreed that we had to all agree with what was gonna go in here.
Correct. That's
So,
why. wrote
and
it
I
down.
don't, I just
Write
think
it
if
up.
we go to the council and say, this is one of our recommendations, they're gonna look at each other and say, how does that reduce the budget? That was their That was their task, find ways of reducing the budget.
Was to review the budget and understand the budget, but
Um,
doesn't necessarily, was there budget reduction, was 100% what our credo was, or was it understanding it, seeing how the future growth coalesces, maybe we combine some things to reduce it. But
They'll put the
I
committee
don't-
together. what's
Yeah, I
his
don't
opinion?
think I can answer that.
I can answer.
Really?
The
Okay, do.
purpose from Doug and those that, initially asked for the committee was, as I understood, looking for ways that the budget could be reduced. That doesn't preclude though, if this committee looked at something and said, hey, we think this should be in the budget and it is, there's nothing that precludes you from doing that. Now that because you, as a group, and as individuals, you have a better understanding of the North Ogden City budget than you've ever had. Yeah.
I wanted to.
There's been
Did you
some, I dare say, some real eye openers,
Yeah.
right? And some aha moments and so you gotta be kidding me moments. And if one of those moments is, well, we should have this and we don't, I don't, the council's not gonna look at you and go, well, that's weird. Right? The council may
They'll
look
just talk
at
about
you and
something
go,
like that.
well, that means we'd have to raise taxes.
Right.
And but it's, what you guys recommend is what you recommend.
But it has to be a committee.
Right.
So I don't have any problem
Okay.
writing, that's why I wrote it in there. I assumed you
Yeah.
guys would just cross it off.
Yeah,
Took me till
and I'm
six.
not trying to crucify you here.
Please,
That's her happy voice.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you've seen my ugly voice, haven't you?
Oh, Ben,
I
that's the
heard it
last
back
one.
I'm kind of glad I missed it.
I'd like to,
They wanted to
Agreed.
hang plastic flowers on Washington, Ben.
That's
They
hilarious.
have
So what
beautiful
I
moves
ones.
are
would
over
have got a
that?
good laugh.
They have beautiful ones.
They don't.
okay, we're done discussing flowers.
Please.
Okay.
I have seen some artificial flower baskets hanging next to real flower baskets. And from greater than 3 feet, you cannot tell the difference.
That's what Jamie said, but.
For
Sandy
4
wouldn't
hours, for
listen.
4 hours, I would say yes. Past that with the UV rays. Okay, so
Okay,
I guess my question is, how much do these flowers improve people's lives? I mean, is it like,
Which is
man,
why
I
they're
just,
not in the budget.
okay, all right.
excuse me,
I mean,
I'm
they're
tapping
Keep
the
going.
gavel,
go ahead.
saying, we have, our 5 minutes is up, I'm discussing flowers.
So are we taking up, do you want to just step through these? Is that what
I
you're?
do, but let's go around the room and see if other people have things to
He
add.
had things and I printed it out.
Are you done talking about your additional ideas?
I could be done or whatever, so yes.
I would like for you to be done. But I'm not gonna force you to be done. I want to get the show on the
Just been
road.
waterboarded.
No, I just went through, I sent mine via email. I don't know if anybody had a chance to read
I
those.
did.
I-
printed it
yeah,
out.
I-
I'm just gonna do it here in a minute.
When did you send it?
The next day.
Yeah, right after
May
that.
4th.
Okay, I saw quite a series of emails, and so I saw you.
And it was mainly on the recommendations. I definitely agree with the flock, getting rid of the flock cameras. It may be good for police work, but I don't like the civil liberties aspects of the surveillance stuff. And then it's a budget reduction there. This wording of fiber optic versus Comcast, I assume what you're trying to get at is maybe you can go for a competitive bid, economies of scale and make competition to get a better deal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what I assume that was.
And this is in
You're
relation
right
to
on.
the fiber optic system that they're putting in.
Yeah, right. There's just more competition
Yeah.
coming, which means it should drive the cost down.
You wrote some words.
Yeah, I did.
That was-
The second garbage can, raise the cost of, I mean, that's a revenue increase. It's not really a savings. And then the problem would be is, okay, if you're gonna charge me for the second can, come take it.
Come get it, yeah.
And then we got 586 cans.
On the mayor's
And a reduction in revenue.
So I got a comment. So like, okay, John, can you answer, how much is it per can? I think it was like $130 or something.
To purchase the brand new cans, it's just over 130 right now.
Okay, and again, we're just looking at the blue cans to act. So have we
No, it's
ever,
the second black can, so you were talking.
Oh, it's a second any can.
Bingo.
So every resident for it gets 2 cans for the same price of 9 something a month, something like that. And then the second blue can is $6 and the second black can is like 19 something.
so have we looked at, okay, so the question is, or situation, we decide to ask those like blue cans, for example. Now we got to do something with them. So ones that are still serviceable, and because of the cost being so much, is it possible for us to go out to the other cities, other communities and say, hey, now we have these surplus cans. Can we sell them to you at a
I think
discount?
they're stamped North Ogden City on them.
What's that?
I think they have North Ogden City.
Plus a number that's
Yeah,
assigned
on
to
the
your
top of
house.
Molded into.
Okay, a little spray paint or something. I mean, some
Round
way
them off.
to modify them so that they could be, maybe
Put
purchased.
a sticker on that says stolen from.
Please return to.
But yeah, yeah.
Just kidding.
So would something like that be an option? Would we be able to, if we took these out of
Is it worth
service?
the effort though? I mean,
Well, so if we don't have to store them.
I have an
But
idea that
we're-
I'm itching to suggest, but I'm gonna wait my
Oh,
turn.
okay.
Please, Clark, can
Oh,
you finish
geez.
your,
I'm sorry, I did it again.
No, no worries.
I'm
please
sorry,
finish
dude.
your
Yeah,
train of
let's
thought.
see. Oh, we had a discussion about the revenue part of it, population growth. I think that was on slide 6, however.
Trade-off. They're talking about.
Yeah,
Population.
Manage citizens' expectations as taxes must increase as
And
city
I've changed that to May.
population increases without a reduction in city services. Well, no, as population increases, you also get increased revenue. I think the problem is inflation. So in order to increase your property tax revenue and adjust for inflation, you have to go through truth and taxation
I did that too.
process.
Just
to
have a
do that.
regularly scheduled yearly truth and taxation, just get it over with, just do it every year.
Yeah.
And
Some
we
years
will
you'll say,
call it the annual
folks-
gathering of the pitchforks.
There you go.
But anyway, that's-
You'll have less pitchforks at 2 or 4% than you will.
Sponsored.
That's understandable.
You will for the first couple of years, but after about 3 years, people are gonna say, you're raising them again?
taxes
Okay.
may increase to compensate for inflation.
Change must to me.
You said adjust?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Maybe.
complicated because you do get increased as property values increase.
But due to inflation.
There's nothing automatic in the system in property tax to adjust for inflation, so you have to go through a tax increase.
Manage citizen expectations taxes may increase due to inflation. City population.
Yeah, population is kind of a red herring there, because you should be having impact fees and other things that adjust for population.
Delete add city population.
I mean, obviously, as the city grows, you're gonna have more infrastructure you have to put in, but you're supposed to be compensating for that with impact fees.
Tech.
Yeah,
But once all of those fees go away.
It's the maintenance thereon.
Yes.
Right? So you have a developer that puts in X number of feet of sewer line, water line, road, curb and gutter, right? That all gets deeded over to the city. Right? The homeowners paid for it, gets deeded over to the city. Now the maintenance is on the city.
Yeah.
Right? And there is, John, we had what, 100 home increase last year?
Closer to like 170. Well,
170
units,
new
but no, you're,
homes.
you're right, units, like single family homes is like 110, 120.
110 single family homes, and then with the multifamily closer to 170. What do you think that did to our property taxes? How much extra property tax?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah, I didn't provide it.
Less than $40,000. That's the additional property tax. So, you know, you have a whole lot of homes with sewer and water and curb and gutter and sidewalks and all those things that now have to be maintained by the city. And, you know, the corresponding increase in annual property taxes for homes is not that great.
So I just changed it to manage citizen expectations as taxes may increase due to inflation.
That's something.
Delete the rest.
Good.
Okay, and then another one, I just thought of it, which is maybe a pressure that's not in the budget, is stuff you have to do due to the flooding that we're having. I don't know where that would come out. Since I live on
Snowfall.
1700,
Unexpected emergencies.
yeah.
John discussed that last night and talked about getting a lot of that from from FEMA money and so
We
forth.
declared a state.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
Because I know there's-
30% or something, he said.
Just gotta start. following-
There's road damage on 1700, obviously in Fruitland Drive there. That's gotta be
Fruitland
redone.
Drive, 1700, we have to look at upsizing the culverts on everybody's driveways.
I think they estimated that
Because
at
the
200,000.
flooding ostensibly occurred because the culverts aren't large enough to handle the potential flow.
Some of them are very small. But isn't that
Okay.
part of what the general fund rainy day budget is for?
Can be.
Okay.
But if you rely on that without any type of budget, you're gonna get premium, and that's kind of like the depreciation. Anyway.
Yeah.
What else?
Okay, back to Clark. Our time is over half gone. Are you done?
Yeah.
We can go till 5:30.
Hey, you didn't vote for that.
I don't second that motion.
Yeah, so far, really, I use this experience more for education, really understanding how this all works. And for the most part, it's been very eye-opening, and I have, my concern has not been in cutting, but in supporting single points of failure. Jamie, prime example. Nobody to backfill her. Nobody has that kind of information. Anything happens, she leaves, whatever, that's a big hole to fill. But as for reductions, obviously I'm against the license plate reading system. Believe it or not, yeah. I'm sure. I wish I would have had I wish I could have done better with that, but yeah, aside from the points that everybody here has made, I don't have anything else to add. It's just been a great experience. Yeah, and then I guess, yeah, again with the blue cans, if there was an issue of storing, if we actually, nix that. If it was possible to sell, then as I sat here for a minute, it's like, okay, money and time and effort that's already being put to manage everything else, now tack on this to try, have somebody taking these, bringing these cans in, relabeling them or doing anything with them, that's additional strain on a system that I think is being utilized quite well.
Well, we're not paying any, well, the citizen is not paying any more for two cans. Two cans come at the same price.
Right.
It's
So
the
it
big-
really wouldn't be.
What was the
Saving
whole
anything.
issue of that, the can? What was the issue? Because it wasn't raised cost of second garbage cans covers added weight from grass clipping use.
Because it goes by weight, when they dump it, it goes by weight and grass clippings and branches.
So this
and all that
was to
weight more.
save on the weight of what's getting
People don't
Don't-
use the green waste, they use their
Okay.
garbage.
Okay,
And
Thus
grass clippings are
increasing
heavy.
the burden on the city that has to
Okay.
pay for the tipping fee.
okay, because that's not
Yeah, it's
really,
a lot heavier than paper trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
Any,
Thank you,
any
sir.
specific cost savings ideas that you would like?
Outside of what you all have brought up, no,
Okay,
I don't.
thank you.
The one item that I have brought up and continue to bring up is very hard to bring up in light of the marvelous performance of our police department 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I still think the council should have a discussion sometime about if there was 0.9 officers per 1,000 people instead of 1.0 officers per 1,000, that would be a substantial savings to the city. And I think, you know, a response, we brag about us response time of two minutes, but that shows to me that we got people just sitting around waiting for something to happen. In other words, that indicates that we may be over-policed. And I haven't done this study, so I'm not positive of that, but that's an area that I would look for a substantial savings.
I disagree, but
Yeah, it's
You
disagreeable,
we
yeah.
both have our.
It is a judgment, and as Phil points out, it's up to the council to
Do we
have to
want
make
the-
those
well, the
judgments.
question is, do we want deterrence or do we want response to problems already occurred? I think there's a deterrence.
There's a line,
value.
there's a line at which we would start to suffer, yes, for sure. Yeah.
But you also have to remember too, that part of our 2 minute response time is because we have officers in the city. Right?
Yeah,
We
not the
don't have
sheriff's
to wait for the
department over
sheriff's
there,
department
yeah.
to come from some other community. And we have a small geographic community, right? So if I'm running lights and sirens from the far northwest corner to the far southeast corner, I can do that in 2 minutes. I can do that in my Jeep in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
If I'm running lights and sirens, so,
You have lights and sirens on your Jeep?
I wish. I keep asking, they won't give it to me. Tried to sneak
That was
it in the
uncalled
budget,
for,
they
yeah.
wouldn't do that. I mean, but it's one of those where I've had, you know, a number of residents, not just you, Randy, but others mention the same thing, and how do I put this? You have to trust us. Because we understand the information of who's staffed and when and how many we have on staff at various hours of the day.
yeah.
That we don't share with the public for obvious reasons, right? You don't want to give away all of the police department's internal information for obvious reasons. And I would say we're not overstaffed by any stretch of the imagination.
And as the city gets larger, it may be easier to make that 1 point reduction as you get enough officers to cover our geographic area more and more. Because the 1,000 will go up and then up and then up and we, you know,
You also want to remember commercial growth, because commercial growth always grows in crime rate more so than residential does.
shoplifting. and
Especially
stuff.
the type of residential that, you know, 75% of our community will always be,
Mhm.
single family home, bedroom community.
Yeah.
You know, about 25-30% will be the more dense population. So we have to look at that.
Yeah, can I go back to 2008? Does the police department have, I'm sure they do, like, just information. Call volume when financial systems, situations start getting more tight, domestic violence, you know, the whole.
Chief has all that.
Okay, so, yeah, I'm very happy with what we have currently, and I think if they're going to be taxed even, or not taxed, that would use, utilized
Come in, yeah.
much more significantly in the coming.
Yeah, it's just the 24/7 aspect of it. Feel, you know, 3 shifts.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of staff
Yes,
when you think about it.
right.
And it's not just 9 to 5, it's
Yeah,
24/7.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you can reduce them. And then when you have two of them pulled out because they were part of a, shooting,
yeah.
that puts more burden on the ones that are still on duty too.
And the chief withdrew, he was gonna put in his budget requesting another officer, and he took that
Yeah.
out, so that's.
Yeah.
I would suggest we don't put it on the list.
Thank you, Randy. Any other suggestions?
No, I'm done.
Well, I mean, technically, we do have it in the future actions, kind of a growth. It says review department, police department growth balancing both national average and response. So I.
Yeah, that's a good,
Yeah,
we address
that
it.
is.
very
I'd
good.
rather have more officers and less cameras.
Bingo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though cameras are cheaper.
I'll just say. Clark Jensen.
Well, part of the reason I bring it up is because I've noticed in these kinds of discussions, that when you're talking about police or army, federal, there's it's kind of tied with patriotism, and nobody wants to ever cut them. And so somebody has to say it at some point. Do we need to look at this just to see if it's in balance? That's why I say it.
Part of that to fund the police movement.
What part of it, what?
I'm just kidding.
Just kidding.
We'll strike that from the record.
I'm just stepping back.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So
Okay.
what, and I know this is a budget thing, but I would like to actually see a little more outreach to the community when it comes to the police force, just because whenever I do bring up, talking with other people about the police here, they don't feel like they have as much of a relationship with them versus I'm just trying to make sure I don't get a speeding ticket. The majority of people, again, that I talk to, they're just like, oh yeah, North Ogden, there's always a cop out, monitoring or handing out speeding tickets. Do they do anything? Nah, I don't think they do anything. No, otherwise, but
A little more PR.
just a little more, yeah, and I don't know, I would have no idea how to approach that other than just, because it's like, okay, Officer Joe, it's like, hey, let me talk to my citizens. So somebody's out there mowing, they drive up, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? What do I do? I had the drugs, yeah. So,
Then maybe you would be saying that.
yeah, but that's what I would like to see otherwise out of the police force that we have. But again, as they come through, as they've communicated with us, as I've spoken with the chief, we really like the chief. I really have a good feeling, down to earth, at least the few that I've spoken with that have given me more fuzzy. So,
What's interesting is what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
The people that you've spoken to, that there's always a cop sitting there at that
Yeah.
corner. That's part of that proactive policing
okay,
because it's not just you that knows that cop is sitting there.
Yeah.
It's the bad guys too.
Yeah.
And when we have our officers out in the street, Chief Quinny talks about it all the time, and there's tons of research done on it. The best crime deterrent you can have is officers out on the street.
Presence.
And when they're, when you've got bad guys and, and it's even like the flock system. When word gets out that, hey, your license plate's being captured as you come in, and if you're in a stolen car or your license is expired or whatever the hot list happens to be, there are going to be those bad guys that don't want to come to Northland. Because they don't want to take the chance that the moment I roll past 1500 or wherever that county is on Washington coming north,
There's a higher
That-
concentration of
That's
police.
there, all of a sudden, there's a picture taken. I know that I'm running with a hot plate. It's on, that's one of the hot lists. And within seconds, there's an officer that says and we can have this debate for hours.
yeah,
That's right, we only have 40 minutes.
Right.
Bag of stuff.
One feel-good
Okay.
story, though. My daughter, she's a busy mom, and she got 3 tickets. And so she's coming down 2600 again. Officer Child pulls her over. He walks up to the car. He says, "This isn't working, is it?" Because he's looked already and he's seen that she's had 3 tickets.
For the same thing?
Yeah, speedy. And, just 5 over, whatever. But anyway, he says, "Look, can't you improve?" She says, "Oh, yes, I can improve." He said, "I'm not gonna give you a ticket because you told me you're gonna improve." My daughter hasn't had a ticket since.
All right.
It got to her conscience, she's like, I've told him I'm not gonna do it anymore. But that was a good PR move on,
Can I add one thing on the police? We have a couple of officers who I do not like to interact with.
Oh.
I have a nephew that's the same, he's a Salt Lake City Police, but that uniform on, he is one cocky dude.
Okay,
I don't want to deal with him. We've got a couple of those.
okay.
But for the most part, as I've come to city council, there's usually one sitting out here, visit with them for a minute, you know who they are, they're great people. Same with the chief. This last week, the crossing guard for our school, the woman has been hurt. So the school police woman
Yeah.
has been doing the crossing guard there. And the interaction she's had with those kids and the people doing that crossing,
Cool.
that's why I kind of like to see the numbers stay where they are.
Okay.
So that's my opinion on it.
I was sure impressed with the video cam watching that incident up there the other day. I thought those officers were cool and poised and they did what they had to do and then stopped when they
And
needed
for
to stop.
the first time they had to do something that major.
Yeah.
Video camera?
I think what surprised me with that is that I saw it in a UK online newspaper, the video and all the detail before I saw any of it
Isn't
here
that
at
interesting?
Utah. I'm like, how the hell how
Where did they get
It's gone around the world, yeah.
Yeah.
It was the officer's cam that I was
Oh, the body
impressed
cam?
with, yeah. I had seen the other cam, the porch cam, but I had not seen the, until recently, the officer's cam. But yeah, you can imagine the nerves that we go through when you,
That'd be my.
you go up to a
mistake.
thing and all of a sudden you have somebody shooting at you, I mean, your body's gears.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy, it's,
That also speaks to their training, I think.
yeah, it does.
Which, is a big budget
Clicked in,
item
didn't
that
it?
I think is worth it. I think it's your turn,
I
Doug.
know.
Go, after the things that have just been talked about,
No, bring it on, let's
What
do
is
it.
it? Deflated.
no, I'm somewhat humbled. I think I'm sober. Okay. Folks, I will go through this. I'll try to be concise.
Are you gonna start like at the top and go through each
I've
one?
already talked about the first 4 pages.
Okay.
And they were little things. Page 5, committee recommendations.
With the money on it in the corner?
Yes.
Yes. We already talked about line 1. The flock has been talked.
Okay, but are we gonna keep it as a recommendation or not?
I put a
Let's
check
go
mark
through
next to
these.
it, so
Let's
I
go through
assume-
these really quick. Keep it. Well, let's just do a right
Yeah,
hand
on the
vote.
flock?
Okay, it passes. Street sweeper has already been voted down. No need to re-talk that. The magazine has been taken off to take the list. Sound lights to, an observation, this was my thing. There were 3 options and 3 other observations that were put on the paper I turned in, and it's been reduced to this little thing.
I coalesced as much as I could to kind of get, so.
Maybe
tell
that
me
could
what-
be, maybe that could be part of the talking points that's on the
Yeah.
PowerPoint talk rather than here. So just leave it on. Oh,
Well, we gotta leave it on if we have some numbers.
As is,
Because if we don't know what, I didn't have the city budget and then. reduced it,
75,000
is what
is
the-
what they were asking the citizens to donate and then put.
No,
on
but there was a,
there.
whole- but I thought there was a city budget item there.
295 was what was
Well,
in
that's
the
what I
budget. 150 of it coming from a grant, 75 the city was budgeting, and originally 75 from contributions. Then the city said that it doesn't look like they're getting that 75,000 from contributions, so let's
75.
budget the 150.
Wait.
Yeah,
So
the
150?
75 and the 75. Half of it's still coming from a grant.
So instead of 2 question marks, I'm putting $150.
So it's a round grant, so you're already taxed.
Round grant for 150 and 150 coming from the city.
So
But
round grants
originally it
come
was
from
only
sales tax.
75 coming from the city and
Right.
75 was donated.
But
So the
so,
difference is the 75,000.
yeah,
So
but
it's
we're talking,
taxes.
and we're talking about sound/lights at Barker Park Amphitheater, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then
Sound.
reduce to,
Okay, one way of doing this, which I learned, I've been taught, is that if you don't know anything else, you can estimate 50%. Admittedly, that's not based on studies or facts and data, but that's one way of doing it. So may I suggest that we just put in 50% of what the potential reduction if we downsize, right size, delay, whatever those 3 options that were in there.
Reduce to,
What
Right,
was the
is that what you're talking
original amount? Yeah,
so
300,
from 300 to, but all that isn't from the city.
no, right.
Well, it's gonna-
150 is from
So
the city,
75.
right?
So you
Okay,
wanna
so
put-
75,000 potential cost savings.
If you-
Admittedly, it's a
if you-
stab in the twilight, but we gotta put something. We're not
The
gonna
RAMP
put-
grant's already taken from you in sales tax.
Right. It's not
So
the
you're
grant
fighting
tax.
for your own sales tax back.
Right.
With the RAMP grant.
Yes.
Okay, so the number may be inaccurate, but it's not completely.
Off the wall.
okay, so
Why, I believe it.
sub bullet is 3 things. We gotta
Well,
keep it-
yeah, but let's put them in the talking points.
Are we proposing doing away with them or?
No.
No.
The
We
three,
just-
the 3 talking points, one was to right size, excuse me, the first one was to delay. Put it off until next year.
But that would be 100%, right?
That, right, for this year.
Second one.
The second one was to right size, downsize, whatever you want to call it.
What you want to do, you want to have that big enough so that we don't have to pay for rented equipment. Because otherwise that cost is on the other side.
I just think it needs to go back to the community donating the 75,000.
Okay, anyway,
And the
so,
third point,
so if I can rein in the cats on the prairie here. Our purpose is to do we keep that as an item or not? And we can reword it, we can put a dollar value on, which I think we've taken a rough stab at. And whoever presents this can talk these finer points. But that is a thing that I would like to see on there. So I'm gonna vote that we keep it on the list of things. Sandy, your vote. 1,
Keep.
2, keep. Okay, it's on. Thank you. Moving on. Stop printing the agendas, that was taken off. Ensure city vehicles are idle free when stopped. I have some further thoughts on that.
drives me crazy when that happens to my car.
Okay. I personally observed, and I even took a movie when I saw it starting to happen. The US Postal Service truck that stopped in front of our house to make the delivery, turned their vehicle off, post office, yeah, they turned it off. The guy walked up because he had something big, wouldn't fit in the box, whatever, turned it off, went back, probably, what, 30 seconds later, and started his vehicle again and went on to the next delivery.
They've probably been instructed to do that.
You're starting to steal some of my thunder.
I'm just acknowledging
You're
what
right,
saying.
you're right, you're right. Okay, and then I saw an Amazon truck, one of those big swoopy looking truck across the street at, it was either at the Browns or the Balvanegros, I forget, or maybe, anyway, I saw them do the same thing, pulling up, and I said, I took my phone and I took a video of it. Pulling up, turned off his vehicle, did his delivery, came back and started and went again.
They all do. FedEx, UPS. and stuff.
Okay, so you're confirming what I have recently learned happens. And I already aired my pet peeve about a police vehicle that I observed last time.
Police might be different because they,
Okay.
They're running lights and everything.
Hold the phone. This was parked in front of the city offices. They weren't sitting there waiting for a traffic violator. But, okay, here's
Little
my
things that can
point.
add up.
Third grade bottom.
Thank you. Idle-free policy, we'll just call that. Don't know the exact cost. Maybe we can figure what the fuel cost is for the vehicles and cut it by, I don't know, 10-20%, say that's our potential
Do
savings.
do we have any idea if,
But-
if the new vehicles that they've been getting already have that automatically?
Okay,
So,
you're still stealing some more of my
Sorry,
thunder
dude.
too, Dan. There are ways to do this. And whether it's a policy statement, rules, somehow these companies have managed to make their employees do that. And the city can make our employees do that.
Put on the list.
So, okay, leave it on. Okay.
I
please.
but I don't,
Moving.
but it's gonna, it has to go to future action /
Right,
It
right.
can't stay on this,
Okay,
Right,
just
and
like
that-
the next one.
okay, I'm gonna
Right.
jump to my last page of things that are not on the printed thing, but I thought of it in the last few days. That in this presentation, let's have categories of things. Things that have a known dollar value. A second category of things which will probably have some dollar savings, but we don't know what it is yet. A second category, but we're pretty sure there will be a savings. A third category of things that are, we think are good ideas, but they're like cost neutral. We don't think they'll add or subtract. A fourth category of things that will probably increase cost, but are a great idea. And I don't know what those would be, but it's a category of things that we talk
Chris
about
has one.
that are,
I know, but you voted it down already.
what I'm
He's
saying
giving
is.
you a chance to
What-
get it
what
back
I'm-
in.
what
It's
I'm-
going on the last page.
One second. Please, let me finish so we have different categories of ideas, savings, neutral, increase, and what did I just say?
Well, you missed the savings that we can't quantify.
Savings,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
possible
quantified.
savings.
Not quantified, but still probable, neutral, and then the last category of things, and that is, I would like to suggest that we have ideas that were put forth, but were voted down. Say, these are things that we are not suggesting,
But somebody did.
but somebody did, yeah, and I know,
I don't
that-
think we'll have
that-
time, but that's
just a second.
Could be a putting back again too. Not back.
Hand out to a paper, hand the
It
paper.
could be that we don't speak to any of them. We just say, folks, these are ideas that were brought up. And oh, by the way, none of the ideas are stupid or ridiculous, Nobody here has presented something that's like fire half the policemen, or don't have a city council,
Oh, I
We're
got
not-
for that one.
We're not, we're not proposing dumb, stupid things. We're proposing ideas that have some merit to them, okay? Some logic. But I'm just suggesting that we have different categories of ideas. And the fifth one is things that we talked about and we voted down. Just let them know that we thought about these things and
Sort of, but I like. the
we
way
did
you-
our job.
And all of these things
Okay.
ought to be put on paper so that you have something to give to
Oh,
them.
amen.
Yeah,
All
are
right.
they, I say every council member gets this, okay.
Totally, yeah.
And before
Every
you,
citizen.
No, I think.
Put it in the
is,
city magazine.
Let's go. Yeah.
Or under the
Doug, back to you.
jacket.
It's in the packet. Yeah, it's in the packet.
Okay, all right.
Packet. That way all the citizens that want to see it. can see it.
Okay, I got off on the city vehicles idle free. Policy, whatever. Okay, enough said on that. Fiber optic, get some competitive bids, leave it on or take it off. I vote we leave it on.
yeah, I don't-
On.
I would leave it on, but just, I mean,
not on this.
I doubt you're gonna get a competitive bid just because their prices compared to Comcast, just from what I've seen so far, are more.
No, we're saying anybody. I mean, it could be
Oh, oh.
CenturyLink, it could be Comcast.
Read his email.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
It's got a good thing. I'm just gonna copy.
So,
Because I think
stays on
that's
the
what he
list?
meant.
Yep.
Okay, stays on the list. Next, on the cost of second garbage can.
For
Ben.
additional.
What?
Because we can't take second because the second is already included.
No, he wants the second.
Okay,
Are
here,
you talking the blue one or are you talking?
Yes.
just a second.
Yeah.
Give me approximately 2 minutes and I will
Okay, I'm timing you go.
lay before you what I think is the greatest idea since sliced bread. Okay.
Fire away.
Butter it up.
Convert them to rain barrels.
Okay, you took my idea.
It's gonna be
Was that it?
Oh,
Really hard to clean those puppies out. Oh,
Okay.
shit.
speak.
Let me just say this. Okay,
Life
we are,
straws maybe that-
how many how many residences that have garbage cans do we have out there in round numbers, John?
Close to
7,000.
7,000.
7,000. Okay, we have 7,000. And how percentage of those have a second can? All 7,000?
Everyone has a blue
black
can and a black can.
Not if you're
So
in
we
an
have-
HOA necessarily.
Well,
Sorry, Sandy.
We'll say 90% of everybody. So here's
That's what
my,
you did.
okay, here's my idea.
How much of that's-
Don't try to collect the extra cans. Let the citizens keep them. Okay, we've already got them. Yeah, the storing of the extra can, leave it at the citizen's home. And the phrase I have coined, if you will, maybe it's not new, pay per tip. Explain, pay per tip. Here's what I'm,
Who pays? The citizens.
yes, here's what I'm thinking. I don't know how much money we spend collecting the trashes now. But if we charge people, instead of a flat rate every week, they get charged, how much? John?
Close to $10 a month.
$10 a month, so 250 times 4.3 divided by 4, whatever. Let's say $3 a week, roughly, at running, to get my trash empty, whether I set the can out or not. Whether I put out 1 can or 2 every other week, I still get charged at $3 a week, right?
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
flat charge.
You paid it
whether you-
already.
Whether you put your trash out or not. So if you take that
Time's up.
and you do. And you do the math and you say, okay, folks, we're gonna change how we charge for picking up trash. Instead of charging a flat rate, we charge every time we dump your can. Just a minute. Hold on, please.
You know the question's coming.
Just a second. People will probably be more likely to concentrate their garbage into 1 can instead of 2.
Definitely.
They can keep the 2 cans on their property. Some weeks, some people don't generate enough trash to put a can out, and maybe they'll only do it every other week. Some people already do that. Hold on. I waited for you. Now you waited for me.
Yeah.
So the citizen decides when to put the can out. They get charged the $3, $5, whatever it is. At the rate that they determine by how fast I fill up my can. And if I have 2 cans, I keep them.
You haven't answered the big question yet.
Just a minute,
How do you keep track of?
just a minute. I'm coming there. So you charge the citizen every time they have a can dumped.
So does
Now-
the city pays for weight, right?
What's it?
Weight.
Yes.
Well,
So now you need to weigh the can,
No, hold on.
and you have to have a special person to go weigh the can. And then
No.
software,
Put it right
and now it's
on.
$25 to dump a can.
No. This is based on kind of an assumption that people will continue to generate the amount of trash that they already do. We're not gonna all instantly change our habits. Habits are very strong. You and I both know that. And people will tend to be and live the way they want to do. But since I know that I'm gonna get charged every time my can tips, maybe I'll be a little more conservative. Maybe I won't throw things away.
We're all with you there, but how do you monitor this?
Yeah.
I'm coming to that.
We have 20
You got us on the edge of
Come on,
our
20
seats.
more pages.
Don't stretch, come on.
You have the trash picker-upper person, and this could be either done electronically, automatically, or with a little checklist. It's got a route, goes through here, okay, at 574 East, 1900 North. That's a potential stop. There's nothing today, so I drive past. There's a time savings right there. Okay, drives past it, doesn't spend the 30 seconds to dump that person's can, goes on to the next. So there's gonna be it's gonna make the route happen quicker. And when he does have to stop and dump a can, while the automated robotic arm is doing it, which is approximately 15 seconds, on the list. He just writes it down or on a not PowerPoint, Excel spreadsheet, click. That
You've
one
seen
was
those
done,
drugs.
that one's done, that one's done. Or it could be done automatically. There's got to be a way to automate. Every time
Then he
The
comes in
arm-
and gives this
But-
list to
This-
the
this-
But
office
it's
staff.
not that automatic.
We
it's
hired 2 more
connected to
people
a
in
house.
the county and it costs 10 times more.
Right, and this is tasking a private business.
Yeah, we
With-
can't ask the
To do
business.
that for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah,
We've spent a
Unless
lot
you
of
have a
time on
city
this. Let's
employer.
vote if we keep it in or not, because we have 2 full pages to still get through in 20 minutes.
Okay.
Because we said today
So I-
we were gonna have
So I
this.
think that process could be automated. The truck could click the button for it, whatever.
Okay,
Take the
But
poll.
the point is charge per tip rather than a flat rate, whether you have empty cans or not.
Can I make
Thank you
a
very much.
suggestion?
Sure, Becky.
Get a hold of the
Republic.
Republic
Yeah.
and give them your suggestion.
See if they, what they say.
Yeah, because they're the ones that are gonna have to do the keeping track. And if they're willing to do something like that, then they can come back to
And
the
pass the
city
savings on to the
and say,
city.
this is what your budget would be if you had this many garbage cans. But I think that would go
But that-
through Republic or Waste Management rather than the city.
But this idea solves one big problem. What do we do with 7,000 extra cans? Just leave them
Yeah, there's times you need the extra can for sure, yeah.
there.
And
And
some
then
you
charge
don't.
for it.
were the extra cans even an issue?
Okay,
That's what I don't understand.
they were a
It was a
reason.
race to a way to increase funds.
One of the solutions was to pay, you had to charge more for having more than 1 can. So people are gonna say, well, okay, I only need 1 can, so take this one back. Now the city has
All these
7,000
cans running
cans
around.
to
Yeah,
deal with.
and two,
It solves that problem.
we were not recycling anymore. Before, there was some kind of money coming from that, I believe, because they were recycling. Now it's not. We're just paying for additional trash.
Okay.
disposal.
I will take personally the job of talking to the Republic Recycling Service and say,
Yeah.
what do you
get them
think of
to
this
do it,
idea?
bring it to the
Okay, next.
state.
Is that a
Page
key?
6.
Were we voting up or down?
We're taking it off.
Wait, we didn't vote on that.
Oh, sorry. I thought that's what you said.
I didn't say take it off. I said I'll go and see. if
Take the
Republic-
poll.
Well, but we can't offer it. We can't offer it to the city council as a savings. Well, we don't know if
Okay,
Republic wants.
so
They
let's
can-
put
he's
it in
saying that they can
category
approach.
number.
They could approach Republic. The council could be, so we could,
I don't know what,
Let's
let's vote
vote.
telling me to do. I guess that was the question.
Yeah, I would say
Move
put
it to one of the other
put it in the
pages.
category of
No, no,
things
what
that
do you
there
want me
could
to
be a savings.
say? Because you have raised raised the cost of secondary.
Yeah, let's not do that.
I won't take it up.
I do.
Okay, if I can come up with some reasonably positive answer from the public, then we put it back on. Deal?
Sure.
Deal?
We got one
Well,
more
okay,
meeting.
but let's keep in mind, the whole
Meeting.
point of today's meeting was to get all this done so that next week he comes back
We're fine.
with one of these that's ready to go, and that's what we work with.
Okay. I'll-
That's not gonna happen
Just send
now
me
if
some
we're
wording and
still.
I'll play with that.
Okay,
Already categorized all of
Go
it.
for it.
okay. Page 6, page 6, that's the one with the little person in the upper right hand corner.
Yes.
Okay.
First one is number 5, meaning category 5 is voted down. Okay. Next. I assume.
Oh, I have a suggestion regarding that. Implement an anonymous friendly reminder box system.
An anonymous snitch line?
I didn't use that word on purpose. I did not use that word.
Is it accurate,
With-
like Gestapo?
With some feedback potential.
Or flock?
But that way,
I said that just for you.
that way there's no
Use flock
snitches getting
cameras.
stitches.
Code enforcement.
There we go, yeah.
There's no snitches getting stitches.
Big brother
because
is
it's
watching.
anonymous, but yet the job gets done. And like,
Yeah, what job? What, I got
Of-
lost somewhere on the
Code
road.
enforcement. Oh,
Well,
we're on the code enforcement.
yeah.
I don't want to say this on YouTube. I don't necessarily want more code enforcement
Well,
officers.
here's the point is the things that, and to his point is that why are we talking about this when we should talk about all the ordinances that no one follows anyway? I concur. So, I mean, to me, we'll vote it off, put it down here, and maybe talk, I mean, it's code, code
That could be
Reducing
a
covers
long and potentially heated discussion.
So I don't have a problem taking it up. I put it in there just because, but category number 5.
Okay. So
Review bank.
put that in,
A lot of pen on that.
put it in the 5th
I didn't
category.
tell all of them.
Okay.
So
She
reduce bank fees.
especially hated your idea.
That- My suggestion is to question, why are we only allowed to have 2 banks?
That will explain.
Because they're in the
That's
city,
the only, yeah.
Why?
because they're close enough that they don't have to drive across
Keep the
town.
money in.
And we want to support
And
the
we don't
town.
want to spend that
business.
extra
Support
gas.
local.
So the option they have chosen is to do the banks that are in the city. The one guy said even at that, it takes him a half an hour
Yeah.
out of his day to go
But
to
we,
the bank.
right,
we would look hypocritical. I think we're encouraging people to shop local, and if we went out of town to get our banking
Yep.
What if it's
done.
a huge savings? What if they give us a competitive bid that saves us thousands of dollars?
John, are you
So
there?
you come
I
at
am
the cost
here.
of
Are
giving
you
a bad
awake?
example.
I am awake.
Is there a specific reason we have to use banks inside
Is it a
the
legal
city?
requirement?
So
So we do an RFP every so many years and then pick the institutions we use based on the responses. Certain organizations are not large enough to service us because of the needs we have.
And credit
Um,
unions are a no-go, she said.
So we can't use credit unions for a significant portion of what we do. But we are using them for some stuff. But usually the ones we get responses back from are Zions Bank, Wells Fargo Bank. And last time I feel like there was one other one that was kind of an anomaly.
US Bank.
It might have been US, but usually those are the 2 that respond to the RFPs. So it's part of our purchasing process to do that RFP, and we always end up with Zions and Wells Fargo, and both of those are in the city.
Do we have anything in Zions right now?
I don't believe we do.
Okay, let's keep it that way.
I thought
I
the
don't know,
bank
Wells
fees
Fargo's
were
no
mainly the
better.
credit card.
No. they're not.
They are the credit card charges.
Yeah.
So if you see which account are you looking at? Is it like
Well,
non-departmental?
We just wrote down bank fees, but I think we were including the credit card
Credit
fees
card
in
fees
that
is
category.
Huge. So I gotta ask, is there some reason that we can't, or we're legally restricted from going outside of the city?
But
No.
those people didn't respond, did they? Isn't that what you said, John?
I
No,
thought
so
there was-
there's-
I thought we had to have the bank in the city. There was a legal requirement. Am I wrong?
It's a policy for deposit reasons so that we don't have people driving. We need a bank branch close so we can deposit our daily payments that come in.
So they're not driving across town by themselves with a bunch of money. Right?
So it's a common sense liability risk.
Yeah.
Well, from what I understand from what Jamie said, and what John just said, they already do this every so often anyway. So
Okay,
do we need to recommend that they use?
sounds like that's
Do what
standard
they're doing?
procedure.
so I'm gonna vote that we take it off of the list.
We agree.
Off.
See, I'm
Okay,
doing this
moving
too.
on, moving right along.
I hear you.
Okay. I'm moving down to the last one on page 6 there, the purse one. With regard to recommend maintaining retention expenses, blah, blah. Realizing that this is a potentially sensitive issue. I think we could throttle back the pay raises a bit.
No, I won't agree with that. Sorry. No.
That's not something that we have access to anyway, though, right?
We don't know what anyone gets
I
paid.
understand. But I have heard, and anybody in this room can correct me if I'm wrong, that our employees are happier. Now we are losing less of them. Our turnover has fallen way off because of many factors, one of which is the pay, another is the parties, the bling, the camaraderie, all those things that go into a person's mind when he or she says, am I going to look for another job or not? Do I like the work I'm doing? There are some intangibles as well as tangibles. And one of those is pay. In this kid's mind, pay is probably the top one. But there are some jobs that you couldn't pay me enough to do, you know? And some things I will do because I love, I'm devoted, I believe in the cause, you know, I will do for no pay. Okay, and there's the whole spectrum in between. All I'm suggesting here is that we reduce the budget a little bit.
Do we
I'm
know what
hold
it
on,
is?
Hold on, I'm thinking maybe 1 to 5% of what it would have been. And when it comes time for raises next year, a person isn't gonna, I don't think a person is gonna say, wow, I thought you were gonna give me $58 more instead of 57. You know, be glad to get the 57. you know.
That's not what this is talking about. This is talking about the retention expenses related to the HR. And if I need to make them more specific,
Okay.
I can. But the
Like
retention
the-
expenses
like
are
the
not related
Christmas
to,
party.
because we're not talking about personnel benefits. Personnel, not personnel benefits.
So
Pay raise, because we don't control that.
Well, I think the
council
council,
controls that.
No, technically, the council approves the budget, and the budget has the listing of all the salaries on it. So it doesn't necessarily, that there's a raise in each one of those budgets. It depends on the person.
Right.
There's that whole thing about how
And they-
personnel gets rated and yada, yada,
Right,
yada.
right,
Yeah.
right.
The pay
And
scale.
all that has to be within the budgeted amount that's allowed.
Correct.
The Chief Quinney can't, correct me if I'm wrong. Chief Quinney can't say, okay, my budget is $500,000. I'm gonna go 550.
Every company has a budget.
Everybody fits within that budgeted amount.
is not the council considering all these things when they make the decision on approving?
I'm sure
the-
they are. But my suggestion is be a little bit, 1% more conservative. If we're gonna suddenly start losing a bunch of people.
I
because
just
they
need
didn't get-
another, I need words, because that's not. what-
We lost, yeah,
Well,
financial director went to Pleasant View. I don't know exactly why, but his pay had to be similar or he wouldn't have gone over. We lost,
Policemen, planners.
yeah, well, I hate to say it, he was a big guy, Brandon, we lost him to Pleasant View also. So if we're competing with Pleasant View, I think we're losing already.
We
So
lost
wait,
Brandon.
in one year I'm hearing that we're not losing people, in the other year I'm
We're
hearing
not
we are
losing them
losing
like
people.
we did.
Yeah, you're always
But
gonna
in
have
the
some
last-
turnover.
And I'll tell you what upsets me the very most right now is that we're losing our city recorder. And you tell her I said that. I think they should get a divorce and she should stay here. She has some really good
I'm gonna
ideas.
text her right now.
She got that education and she had some really good ideas and
Susan Nance.
yes. Yeah, her husband got a job out of state. My son did leave a job specifically because he went a couple of years without a competitive raise.
I would say, especially in light of
I wouldn't
the current, I would not even bring this up.
Okay,
Yeah,
it is hereby not brought up.
But this thing, which it would be a increase, because it's not a cost saving, it's not a savings neutral, it's maintain your expense, so I don't know, maybe that is,
That's an idea that is worth mentioning.
right, but is that category 3 or category 4?
Well, I lost track of the numbers, but it would be a,
It would be, is it savings neutral or savings or increased cost?
I think it's neutral
Well, I think the
because
point here
they
is,
I don't agree with
maintain
that,
what
but
you've already got instead of reducing it, is what you're
the
saying.
point here is that if you're treating your people right, it's worth its weight in gold and retention.
Yeah.
I think is the point he was trying to make here. So, some investment in camaraderie and some goodwill will, if they have a chance to go somewhere else, they might stay even for a little bit lower pay if they feel like they're being treated well.
appreciated.
They're appreciated.
Some of those intangibles.
Yeah.
Because at first when I saw their budget, I thought it was excessive, but then as I got thinking about it, and they're doing one dinner a year where they're inviting their spouses, and yes, it is expensive. but they also said it was cheaper to go to the restaurant than it was when they had it catered here.
And there were very few places that could handle that size of a group anyway, so.
And
I've
the-
experienced
and the
with 3 different
camaraderie.
companies, yeah,
Yeah.
3 different companies I've left because of those stupid things where they stopped doing.
Right, my husband's job as well. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. I fully support that. Maintain the retention of spaces.
Yeah, I was convinced.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
stays on. Yes.
5 minutes.
Then we'll go through these.
Finish your actions. How many
Um,
times do you cut the line?
under the UPS Amazon thing, as vehicles get replaced through normal attrition,
Where did you go? I'm lost.
I'm back on page 5, third bullet, about the city vehicles are idle free.
Oh, okay.
As vehicles get replaced anyway, get hybrid ones, or ones that have the auto off, so the person doesn't have to make a decision. Modern tech,
All newer
modern
vehicles
technology.
are including that. If you look at hybrid vehicles,
Yeah, that's scary.
that you're looking at increased cost and also
Repair.
repair, and quite frankly, I mean, these electric vehicles, if you watch buses and things like that, they're blowing up. They're a safety hazard, in my opinion. Hell, I own Tesla stock and I won't buy a Tesla ever. Yeah, I think that would be a increased hazard.
But so what I put for that one is I have idle free vehicle policy for city vehicles. And that would be a number 2, which is.
So
city vehicles.
changing the kind of vehicles that we buy, just stick with gas.
Yeah, but because
No.
the
Well, but the
idle
city said
savings
that.
are already being built into all newer vehicles anyway. So. just-
Which is the freakiest thing, because I have all old cars, but I just drove a new truck.
Yeah.
And you pull up to that red light and
And it
it
turns on.
dies.
Like,
It's like, what? Now what do I do?
Okay.
I like the idle free policy. I think that sounds good. We have the
Regard-
last page?
Yes. Regarding, this is getting into things that there's no specific thing, but just hang with me. Regarding our city policy to buy local versus best price, those decisions that we talked about before, you know what I'm talking about? Okay. Give local businesses a chance to price match.
That's
That
good.
would be great if they would
Yeah.
agree to it. Yeah,
Give them a chance.
yeah.
So we want to buy local, you're charging 10 cents for this red Dixie cup. Walmart charges 7 cents. Can you match it? The business says, what's in it for me? Number 1, you get the business, duh. And number 2, we give them some free advertising or sponsor mention in the newsletter. Say, these,
But we can't.
so-and-so market is our favorite because they give us reduced prices. Somehow give them some perk
So,
to help persuade them to price match. Give them a chance. That's my
Well, the other
suggestion.
reason we want to do local is because they're the ones supporting all these projects we have when we go ask them for
Right,
donations.
right, okay. So I'm supporting that idea of buying local and get the best price. Okay, that's my idea.
Okay, are we gonna decide if it goes on the
Stays.
paper or
Stays or not?
where's it at?
It's not.
It's
This
additional
is my,
things that
this is
you do.
stuff I thought
Add
of.
or not.
Add or not? Add.
Smash.
Anybody opposed?
opposed,
It's a cost neutral, so it's like, I'm kind of shrugging my shoulders.
well, you could say it's cost neutral until you get into, well, we'll help advertise, or we'll say, okay, where does that go? Where, you know, if we're, now we're taking up space in the Ogden newspaper or paper that we're paying for that was gonna be for something else, and.
Oh, I didn't get that.
I agree, yeah, the advertising part is out, but we gotta let them match, price match.
Yeah, I like the idea of give them an opportunity to price match, period.
But
Just for the business,
But that's
no,
it.
no added, we'll give
Don't
you
put
a.
in the business about
Yeah.
advertising.
that's not a city council thing, that's a business thing. That's where somebody needs to go to Lee's and says, will you do this? Or somebody goes to Smith and says, will you do this? Unless you're asking the city council to go to them and ask that.
To direct city employees to do that, can't the council do that? Or at least recommend.
5 o'clock.
It's not so much a matter of could we, it's should we,
Yeah,
right? Is it council's job to manage, to micromanage the staff? And I don't believe it is. Ours is to set policy and then allow the staff to operate on their own as adults. So, they could,
Randy's going.
we already have a policy of, get the best price possible.
But I also wonder, how are you going to handle that with the store? I go to Walmart
The
and I say,
administration is difficult.
it's this much money, so then I go back to Lee's and prove that I live in North Dakota, and I want you to give it to me for this much money.
You'd have to have a price quote from,
Yeah, no,
Costco.
how would it?
yeah, that's good, that's good for big items. For little things, it's not gonna work very well.
I mean, I love it. I used to shop at Walmart when they matched prices.
We learned that our staff is quite conscious about price and are doing these things. I say, let's don't harass them on this.
I don't consider this as harassment.
But you could put it in category 5 if you wanted.
Well, I would
Category
put it
5
in
was,
category
wasn't
3.
that lousy?
Oh, no, category 4. Category
No,
4.
whatever.
Category 5 would be,
Suggestions.
yeah, category 4.
Not even to just give them a chance to price match? You don't
Yeah,
think
they
we
can,
should
but
do
I,
that?
but I don't know how you're gonna make the city hold them to that.
I'm
I
trying to
didn't
figure
know
out
the
what
city
items you're
told
even
you.
talking about. Paper clips?
I don't know, Clark. All the
Anything,
things
food,
that
a bag of
we
potato
make
chips.
decisions on.
Yeah,
Right. So,
make it too hard, it'll be costly too.
that's true.
You live next to my niece.
Okay.
She's in Bruce's house. Kelly?
This is an idea. It has to do with the polling the citizens. It was in there somewhere, but either use the newsletters, random sampling by the citizens committee, which would be us, a voting booth, or flash vote. By the way, Phil, is flash vote the service that was pitched to us 2 or 3 months ago?
Yes.
Somebody came, that was them. So we are using their service now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you did.
I got contacted by them.
I just didn't remember. I remember when they
It's in
stood up
here,
here and talked about how they could get more accurate feedback. Okay.
And Clark had an issue with that, didn't you, the flash vote?
Well, are we still having a representative form of government, or are we going to pure democracy? Let's vote on everything, flash vote. Okay,
Have you tried?
Survey
have you
says-
tried using flash vote yet? The thing that
It's
was
mostly for capital projects.
advertising, have you tried, has anybody in this room tried using this yet?
Yes,
You
I
have.
signed up for it. I've gotten.
Did you
more
take their little
emails.
survey?
Yes.
Yeah,
Anybody else
That's as far
besides
as it went.
you?
I didn't.
And you?
We haven't submitted an official survey yet. I was working with the Flash Vote guy and creating their
But
first
it's in
one.
here. And it can be used, and it's been done by at least 2.
So that's how people sign up to be part of the panel that's responsive to the surveys that will be sent out.
There was an actual survey in it, not
It's
just
flash
sign up,
vote
remember.
Survey, it's not city survey.
It's
Oh.
the survey that you did is how you sign up to grow into the portal or to get into the group.
So the
That
city really has not started using flash vote yet.
we have not submitted
We
a
have not
second
done
survey.
the First survey.
Yeah,
So there was a first survey.
the first survey is the thing that gets your demographic information.
Okay.
So,
But you can put your city stuff on there and ask a question too then, right?
yeah, that's the whole point is
So,
that
to me, it's only a data point, right? It's information for the council. I'm not gonna, because you don't know what the sampling is, who's actually the ones voting.
And how many?
So you
don't?
have to take it with a grain of salt. I don't think you can,
It's their second, it's usually a second check. Or what.
well, I really thought I was gonna vote this way, but because Flash Vote says I'm gonna do this, I better do it. I don't think so. It's another input.
Okay, so I guess that goes in category 5 then. Ideas that were put forth, but
And
not
how is that
accepted.
saving money?
Well,
Yeah, that's why it's in category 5.
right, it's not saving, it's not costing, it's not neutral, it's just an idea that had some merit that we decided to not propose.
I have a little bit of an issue with
But-
ensure capital projects are the correct ones. What do most citizens want? I agree with that for the most part, but you gotta have sewer pipes. And I don't know that citizens willingly pick sewer pipes over the swimming pool. But they've got to be done. You see what I'm saying? Am I confusing? Okay. So we can't, I don't feel like we can do just what most citizens want.
Citizen information is important, but it's not, when the council gets meeting, they have to consider all the
think of all of
factors
that.
and, yeah, they gotta make decisions based on facts and figures and.
They don't always vote for what this citizen wants. I can tell you that.
Let me tell you,
But
I
we keep
always
going.
get the fortunate opportunity to sit right in the middle of that dais. I don't know why I always get. But I get the daggers.
Okay, we're 5 minutes over time. Let me speed through these. One suggestion. Time and a half.
All right.
Oh,
No,
50%
I'm
more.
dogging you for not getting it done when you were told.
I'm gonna dock you for taking too much time at first.
Keep going.
Okay. One suggestion, which is related to the retention thing, is to allow citizens, the citizens committee group, to be in on the party venue and menu selection that the city spends however much.
So how long is this committee gonna go? I thought that it was pretty much decided at the first meeting that once this budget was accepted, this committee was done.
Yeah.
Because I suggested.
Or
going
let's
on.
recessed for till next year.
Yeah, I suggested going on, but the majority was no, once this budget is done. we're done.
I'm looking forward to this job being done. I want my Wednesday afternoon.
Okay, but you just said
I
you want
know.
to be a part of the
I know.
HR committee.
I know.
Steak and chicken.
Yeah,
But let's-
I would vote no. That's-
I can tell you, there's no way council's gonna go for turning over employee parties, decision making to a citizen committee. Not gonna happen.
Or by
That's
now.
an HR
That's a-
thing. That's her, yeah, nobody here has the
She's got a
expertise
budget.
she has in that. So who are we to tell her how to do?
Can I just tell you something?
Sure.
I was the chairman of a local organization for 8 years, several years ago. And we had a party every year. And I went around to different restaurants, including places that would cater, and found places that would accommodate the size of the group, that would have a reasonable menu. We didn't have prime rib and T-bone steaks. One time, a couple of times, 3 times, we had Brixton's baked potato that would cater. They brought stuff. It was great. People had a great time. And we didn't spend them in.
Well, see, the way you
So
do
what I'm
that is
thinking-
is to limit their budget to start with and let them make the decisions. You don't nitpick their decisions. Yeah.
Very good. So maybe we just reduce the budget to 80% of what it would have been. And
No,
say,
because we already
you guys
said we were
figure it out.
fine with
We
their
just thought
budget.
this was a good investment to
Yeah.
retention.
Yeah, we already said we were okay with
We
their
had a
budget.
discussion on that one.
Well, what kind of cut across my brain was hearing that we're going to, what was it, Prairie Schooner or
Timber.
Timber
Never
Mine?
mind.
And I know what they serve at Timber Mine. I don't eat there very often. There's a reason, 2 reasons for that. But I think given some persuasion that whoever's in charge of that could,
Well,
You just
Timberline
got your
has a
budget.
banquet large facility. I
I
think
know.
there's not that many large
How many-
facilities.
how many
that-
people, how many people do you have to have in this?
140, 145-ish.
I think this is not where it
Yeah.
won't be anyway, but
Well,
So a question I have
I
is,
just-
you, in your presentation that you're gonna be giving to council, and I'm speaking as one of 5 council members. I would highly suggest that you stick to your categories 1, 2, 3, and 4 that you've all agreed on, because there isn't agreement on category 5 items, and you're gonna lose council.
Yeah, I'll bring that up.
You're gonna lose council. I mean, if an individual wants to use public
Public comment?
time at the beginning or at the end of the meeting to bring up an item that they feel strongly about, they're more than welcome to do that. Any individual would have up to 10 minutes to do that, right? 5 minutes at the beginning, 5 minutes at the end.
And you can add it to the list that we give them, but you don't do the presentation with it.
No, I don't even want it on the list
I don't
that you
either.
give them.
I thought we said we're putting it back, now we're not.
Well, that's what he's bringing up.
No, I mean, just, you don't brief it, but it's in the background.
That last list?
Things that were not, that
That
were
were voted.
brought
That
up,
the group
but
didn't
Yeah.
agree.
voted down.
Okay, well, so.
So you're voting this idea down, right? I
Mhm,
think I'm here.
mhm.
Let's move on.
What do we have in that? On the
Yes.
brief? I'm asking. Okay.
Not on the slide.
Why are we giving that to them when we didn't all agree on it?
That was his number 5.
If there's a category 5 meeting, we voted, everybody voted it down, but it's a backup, you don't brief it. If you don't want it in there
Don't spend
anyways,
any time on
Right.
then we don't put it in there at all.
Right.
I don't care. I'll put it together and we vote next time to just take them all off. Just need to keep going. So,
Yeah.
There's the fact that if we give them too much, they're not
No.
gonna look at it.
Correct, but this is,
Yeah.
mostly in briefings, you put anything in backup if you want to reference it for later.
Good.
You don't brief it.
Okay,
What else you got?
do we have on here to stop the chalk it up subsidy? I think that was,
I mentioned that.
it was mentioned, I don't,
Is it?
Remember
Yeah, I don't
being in
remember
there.
seeing it.
That was her
He's added
thing.
it.
Oh,
That
okay.
was the one thing that's gonna save 101,000.
Yeah, that's part of the 111,000.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
is it in here? I
It
didn't-
will be.
Will be.
He's
okay.
added it.
Peace. Don't buy another drone,
That was part.
That's part of that also.
okay, that'll be it. If someone wants to donate one, that's different, but the city, don't buy another drone. And I added, thank everybody, because you mentioned that, I agree, and I'd like to suggest maybe that we have a regularly scheduled truth and taxation meeting every year. Wow, citizens, come if you want, don't you come if you don't want.
Whatever you.
Thank you. Let's do
Yearly,
it.
you said yearly?
Yeah, every year. Just, even if we have to raise taxes by
Mandatory meeting
1%
for
or half a
any-
percent. Just let people
Training
know,
public hearing.
let people know what the truth is. On a routine basis. Don't wait until there's an emergency. Just do it.
Well, I like Randy's
for
idea
tax
of
increase.
raising it every year from 2 to 4%.
And if we have
Property
to,
tax
and if we have to have a
increase.
JIT meeting, then just do it. That's normal business.
But there still will be years on the budget that it will probably need to be raised more than the 2 or 4%.
Right.
But rarely would it be 24% or some big number like that. Yeah, we'd be able to take care of it as it went along. Yeah. People understand that.
Well, some do. I mean, some of us don't want it raised at all ever, right?
Right, but they understand it if it's a reasonable amount. So when's our presentation to take place?
23rd.
On the 23rd. That's a Tuesday night council meeting.
Yep. We are on
We have
the
one-
agenda.
Final meeting next week, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Final meeting of this group.
Yes, here next week.
So Chris, you're gonna take all these things that everybody has said and
And then,
turn them into something wonderful.
right, so
Wave your
after,
magic keyboard.
after next week's meeting, if there's any changes, are we gonna be able to get the changes done and, yeah,
I think so.
okay, and then we can also
How far in
decide.
advance do you need the thing for the?
Wednesday's best, so we can put it in the packet on Thursday. So like Wednesday, the
Or you have a week.
17th.
Oh,
Which
so
is
that
next-
would be
next
next
Wednesday.
week. He'd have to have it by,
Okay, so next Wednesday, after the meeting, it needs to be finalized and sent. to you.
Yeah, we say midnight Wednesday.
whew,
All right.
That's
That means
been a
it's
lot
gotta
from
be
you.
pretty much
Yeah.
done next week.
it shouldn't take, our meeting shouldn't take as long as it did tonight next week.
Let's just say I can finish all of these by the time you drive home. No. But it wouldn't, shouldn't take that much.
You've seen the car I drive in.
Okay, and then next week too, let's decide how we're doing the presentation, because if it's
Who's
you
gonna
and
say
I,
what?
I would
How
prefer
would
doing
you-
the front end if you want to do. That's just a personal,
Alternate.
No, I don't want to alternate.
Too much.
Yeah, I don't want, I make a suggestion, you make a recommendation. No, it's, yeah, that's just my personal.
Split it in half roughly and
Mhm. Okay,
I'd like to offer what I think is the truth, and that is that we are not all going to agree on everything. There will be things. There will be things where, like tonight, people wanted this, half didn't, 2% wanted. You can't reasonably say if everybody doesn't agree, it doesn't go on the list, because there isn't going to be hardly anything that everybody agrees on.
And I disagree, but I,
We-
because we are,
There's going to be
I think
kind of a
the meeting
majority
we just
vote
had
sort of
was
thing.
to establish what goes on the list.
we are a committee, so I think the
Right,
committee.
and
needs
so-
to agree
there was
what
three
goes on.
yeah,
Doug, I'll be honest with you, what it sounds like you're suggesting is that somebody could add something to the list that the committee doesn't agree to.
No, I didn't say that.
That's what it sounded
I
like.
didn't mean that, nor did I say that. What I meant is that this list of things that we've got, some of them were on, even though people put things on the table, some of them got voted off, and some of them got voted on, but they weren't all unanimous. Everybody didn't agree on everything. There's some
Yes,
things that I didn't agree with, but
Right.
I caved in, I agreed to go with the majority. the
So-
feeling.
So
So
what's your point? That's
my,
true.
my point
yeah.
is, I have heard tonight, well, it can't go on the list unless everybody agrees on it.
They can't go on the,
We have to agree to disagree.
it can't be a recommendation we're requesting of the council unless everyone agrees. The other
when you say
thing,
every, it's majority, because there was some things I didn't agree with.
Yeah.
So I,
Right.
I'm not
That's-
saying
that's
that,
my point.
yeah, so if everybody 100% agrees on it, there won't be anything on it.
Yeah, there's got to be some give and take.
when everyone agreed it could go on the list, because if it's not on the list, if you said, no, I don't want it there, I didn't hear you say that, and
I did vote for
we-
several, but yeah, no, if it's majority, I thought that's what we were going with.
Right.
Majority.
Right.
Yeah, you have to, otherwise your list
Okay,
would be
so-
very small
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Majority is 4.
tonight.
And other things that most of us agreed on,
Mhm.
but we agreed to have that system of getting something on the list, even though we did all.
Because
vote.
I want the flock cameras, to be perfectly honest, but I understand that most
Yeah.
did not, and so I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I
If we
didn't,
agree to that method of things getting on the list, then,
Most things were almost unanimous. I mean,
Mhm.
close,
yeah.
one or two often.
but yeah, if I had a true, how about this? If I had a true issue with it, I wouldn't allow.
Right,
But,
and that's how I
yeah.
was, there were things that I was sort of like, they're not a big deal, but
Yeah.
it's,
If I had a
yeah,
big thing, I would say,
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, even if we, whatever the outcome of this group is, we will have done something. Okay?
We spend a lot of
We will
time there,
have
that's what
said
we've done.
something.
I would say,
do.
hopefully, say we would have, hopefully the council will recognize that we have tried. We put in a lot of time, effort, brain cells, come up with ideas, either good, bad, or indifferent. But we have, in a large measure, fulfilled the purpose of this.
You've all prepared yourself to serve on council.
Well, and I've heard the council, I've heard them say nice things about us and how they're looking forward to it. I've heard the mayor say it, so I do think they recognize that we,
Make one suggestion.
no, no,
I thought that's
no.
where you're leading up to.
Yeah, you see the way I can't control my mouth, I will never sit up there.
So you don't want.
You know what, we might get better ratings on YouTube if
Oh
you
my
were
God.
on there. I mean-
Might have to be a PG
Yeah,
13
yeah.
rating or something.
Brenda had a suggestion.
I don't think I ever cussed.
She doesn't.
No.
I don't think I can.
Source of
I
revenue.
did have one
There you
suggestion
go.
that
Yeah,
at some point at the beginning of this, if we're going to go by majority, I would like it
yeah, there we
in
go.
the paper that we're going by
That'd
majority.
be awesome.
I gotta write something.
Say that again?
That if we're going by, these recommendations are by the majority of the committee.
not necessarily unanimous.
Right,
Yeah, that's,
because I still want my individuality if I want to speak at the public comments at the end to say, here's a couple of things that I did not like.
oh, yeah.
I can't imagine that I would do that specifically, but I guess I'm just saying, I don't want my name attached to something that I haven't 100% agreed to. So if it can be that the majority of the committee recommends these things.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing, and then the ones that are been discarded or voted down, or however else we decide to put that, then if I say, oh, I really want that second,
These were below the cut.
I really want 17 more code enforcement people to police the three things that she has not upped as code.
That was said in confidence.
I drove by her house, it's more than 3.
Oh, you know what she says, snitches get stitches. So if Karen,
Paper new trees tonight.
so if he's not at the meeting next week, we'll know why.
Okay.
Well, no one's gonna
Okay.
toilet paper
Are we
because
done?
the cameras will catch them and then they'll get in trouble, so. Do you have a ring camera?
I have cameras everywhere.
Okay.
One thing I want to say,
Go back, Sven.
I do think the mayor and the council appreciates the citizen interest to want to support. And, you know, I think we've learned, and not only have we learned about the budget, but we've learned to appreciate what they have to go through in looking at
Yeah,
the
that's-
budget. So it's been, I think it's been a good thing.
You know, that might be a prefatory statement that we might say throughout this whole process, before we give you our recommendations, we thank you for the work you do. And we appreciate the support that we've had, you know, like we already talked. And we've come to have a greater appreciation for the jobs that you're doing.
And not just the.
Right, yeah.
Now, here's our recommendations.
Hang on, my head's getting heavy.
Now here's why you suck.
All right, anything else?
No.
Around the room, anything?
Good.
So next Wednesday, is
Okay.
everyone gonna be able to make it?
Same back time? Yeah.
Same back time, same back channel.
Same back channel.
Okay, class dismissed.
Oh, really?